It's 9:03 on November 12th, 2024, and I call the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Please, everyone, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have an invocation by Pastor Latricia Beasley Day from Faith in the Valley. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Hey everybody, if you would bow with me. God, I come before you with gratitude for this day and for the opportunity to serve this community. I ask for your guidance, wisdom, and peace over this meeting. Grant each leader here discernment, compassion, and a spirit of humility. May the work done today honor you and bring hope, equity, and well-being to every resident of our county. Remind us of our responsibility entrusted to us, and empower us to act with integrity and love. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
All right. Thank you so much for those words. Really appreciate it, Pastor. Next is presentation of employee service awards. So we have a few of our employees that have been here for respectively 25, 30, and 35 years that will be recognized. And I will be coming down. The first person we'll be recognizing for 25 years of service is our CEO, Jody Hayes. So I would appreciate if my fellow board members can also accompany me there as well. Tom, you got it?
I got it. It's a little crowded up here. So today we're going to do lots of employees, but we're going to start with our CEO, Jody Hayes. He's been our CEO for 7 years. So I'm in my 16th year on the board. Just so everyone knows, I've had 4 CEOs that I've served with. I was going to say under, but with, side by side. The first one was Rick Robinson, who was from up north when I got on the board, and he was a little bit of a change agent, but we've had 3 in a row that were grown internally, which is the greatest thing ever. Monica Nino, Stan Risen, and now Jody Hayes. So I've spent my entire career with Jody Hayes since I've been here on the board. He's been in the CEO's office. Started out in he was in the private sector at first, and before joining the county, he started with HR over at the probation department. Has worked his way up through deputy to assistant CEO to CEO. Again, 7 years. So all CEOs bring unique perspectives, different things in life. Jody, and he can tell his own story. I don't like to tell a story, but it is one of the greatest stories, talking about how he grew up here locally and utilizing some of the county services. And it's really been impactful as a CEO coming all the way through the organization, but starting there and understanding what our programs are all about. And having an HR perspective, the first time he came into closed session, we were doing negotiations. The first thing we do when you're doing negotiations, we ask for your dental x-ray so that we can identify you when you disappear. And so you remember that. So we've had this discussion, but really the relationship between us, it's really a partnership. I like to think that the board's in charge, but really so much information flows and there's so much knowledge when you've come through the organization that a lot of times we're continually asking his opinion and for information. Jody's a wealth of knowledge. He's a great leader, flat line, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, which is a true quality. The CEO, I'm proud to call him my CEO of Stanislaus County, but I'm more proud to call him my friend. and congratulations on your 25 years. Don't clap, we're going to hold it until the end.
Okay, I'll go next. So I've been here 14 years, and same, I'm not going to repeat everything Vito said, same amount of CEOs since I've been here. So I'm going to give the touchy-feely side of this, not all the facts. So when I look for a CEO, as we've hired CEOs over the years, I always say I want to see your heart. I want to see your heart for the community. I want to see your heart, for the board and for this organization. And so when we brought Jody on, I remember that was the one thing I kept looking for with Jody. And it really comes down to, at some point, I want to see you cry for this organization. And I can tell you, just in the conversations and the things that we've had over the years, I can see we've had situations where, sometimes it's not good stuff we got to deal with. It's really tough stuff, as you guys know. And then there's other highs that are great days, but there's days you need to cry, and cry over the decisions you have to make, you're forced to make. And I can say that Jody's got the heart for this organization. I've seen the tears, and Jody, we love you, and I love the work you're doing. You're smart as a whip, but you're a crier, and that's a good thing. So we're glad you're here. Thank you.
So as one of the newest supervisors here, I leaned on Jody quite a bit about information, trying to get the pulse of the organization. He always had it. He always had correct information, or close to. And I'd just like to thank him for his 25 years of service to Stanislaus County and its residents. Again, he always has the pulse of the county and what's going on. And I don't want to touch on all the other stuff that the other supervisors have said. It's all true, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, we have a great partnership with the board and the CEO's office, and we've had a great 4 years that I've been a part of, Jody. Looking forward to building on that momentum and getting things done and delivering for our residents.
Well, one of the newer supervisors coming on, it's always a learning curve, and you really rely on staff and the CEO's office to learn every facet of the organization, and you never really truly learn it. I think Vito and Terry have gotten as close as possible, but for us, we're still learning, and then having somebody that guides you with a stable hand, doesn't get too worked up, just gives you the facts so you can make the best decision for the residents of Stanislaus County. That's what Jody has been for me for the past 4 years. He's somebody that will give you the information unbiased and just say, hey, this is where we should be, but you end up deciding, and he gives us a lot of latitude in that, but not without giving us all the information. And then over the years, I've gotten to know Jody personally, a great human being, somebody that really has a calling for this job. It's not easy overseeing an organization as big as we are, as much as we think we're still a small county, huge budget, many great employees, and the person at the helm has to make some decisions sometimes that aren't always the easiest to make. But Jody always puts in a lot of investigative work, a lot of his information gathering before he makes the decision, and I think that served us, the board, the employees, and the residents of Stanislaus County well. So thank you for 25 years of service, Jody. Hopefully there's many more years to come. But again, for every day that we get to spend with you as our CEO is something that we're really grateful for. Thank you. Time for you to say a few words. Thank you.
All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I already get plenty of FaceTime, so when I was asked if I wanted to do this recognition, my instinct was to politely decline, but I also thought of it as an opportunity to thank the people who actually helped me stand here today. And there are lots and lots of them. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to read some names and share a few sentiments along the way. I think, I'm standing here 25 years and so forth, but the CEO that you have and the person that you're talking about, it really is a reflection of just slices of all the people that have helped me along the way. And it is a lot. Either many of them in this room today, many that worked in this room, and other folks who never entered this room, but they were really meaningful parts of my life. And that's kind of what forges you as a person, as a leader, and as a coworker, and on behalf of this board as a CEO for the last 7 years. So I'm immensely grateful for the opportunity to work for Stanislaus County. I've shared with some of you in the past that when I came here, coming from the private sector, I had a very specific career goal, and that career goal was I was going to work here no later than 5 years. Like 5 years was it for me. And I had no idea what the county organization really was. I just saw it from the outside. And once I spent time here and understood the tremendous value and opportunity, not just for myself, for my family and everyone else, that I recognized that this was a home for me and that I didn't want to be anywhere else. And that still continues today. There's no place I would rather work than right here. And, you know, I really want to just share that message for even our newest employees. You never know what your career, you know, where your career might lead. And I am the perfect example of that. I never would have imagined standing before you here today. So it really is all about the people. And I think people help shape you. They help shape every part of you, whether you're here at work, early in life, later in life, whatever it might be. So I'm going to go ahead and name some of those people. I would first want to start with our Board of Supervisors. These gentlemen before you today have been just tremendously supportive of me for many reasons, not just work reasons, but things that happen even when you're not at work. And all 5 of them have been there for me when I needed them the most. So I want to thank Supervisors Withrow, Condit, you guys stand it together, Graywall, and Chiesa. All 5 of them have really been important to me in very important moments in my life. And I want to thank you all. I also want to thank our past board members that are not with us today in various ways, Supervisors Olson, Monteith, DeMartini, and Berryhill. They were all equally important to me along the way as well, and I want to thank them. I want to thank our CEO senior leadership team, our entire CEO family. I do want to highlight our folks on the leadership team that we link arms with every single day. Patrice, Tina, Ruben, Noemi, Monica, Jewel, Angelica, Erica, Ryan, Liz, and Eric. All of you actually get the work of the organization that I think a lot of people misunderstand, that somehow I'm running this organization. It's all of our county department heads. I want to thank them as well. Our 28 department heads, along with that CEO senior leadership team, they are the heart and soul of Stanislaus County, and I thank them all. I want to thank some of our past CEO family. Supervisor Chiesa mentioned our prior CEOs, Rick, Monica, and Stan, as well as some of my former colleagues, Patty, Keith, Nancy, Tamara, Eileen, Pat, Brenda, and Brandy. All of them really important colleagues for me along the way that helped me get through some of the most difficult times. I also want to thank all of our county employees. I have worked alongside thousands and thousands of county employees, which is pretty amazing. I've personally worked with countless, but everyone who showed up for work today and who showed up for work alongside directly or indirectly over the last 25 years, I love that we're recognizing many of you today, so that's really awesome. Lorena, Manuela, Isabel, Pedro, Jason, they're all coming up here in a little bit, and I hope that you enjoy the recognition as well, because it's very well deserved. I've worked directly with some of you and indirectly with all of you throughout those 25 years. And then also, I just want to thank family and friends. Supervisor Withrow mentioned heart. He was looking for that from the very beginning. And your heart that's where you forge your heart and your instincts. And at the end of the day, we have our knowledge and so forth, but really you're left with your heart, your instincts to make sometimes difficult decisions. And mine were forged with family and friends, current, past, present, all of that. So in terms of friendships, I've been blessed to have lifelong friends. I was thinking about what have I done in my life for more than 25 years? And it's only a couple of things, and that is the group of family members that I've been with during that time, but also privileged to be with a group of friends as well. So I want to share my appreciation for my friends. Spent the whole last weekend with them, which was perfect timing for me. So shout out to my friends with what we affectionately call PWC. Those are my friends that have helped forge my heart, but more importantly, my family. So I'm very happy. They're all a very busy bunch, so they couldn't all be here today, but my daughter Sydney is here today, so she was able to make it today. Thank you, Sid, for being here. I'm going to make them all watch this video later, so don't worry. But your family, they didn't choose this job, and if you were really to ask them, did you want your dad to go through, there's probably moments where they would have preferred I had not done this, but they have never shared that with me. They would never say it directly to me. They've only been supportive from day one through this entire journey, and you just can't thank them enough. I just can't. So my daughter Sydney, my sons Aiden and Spencer, who were unable to be here today, and also my wife Angela. Those are the people that, Angela's CEO of the house, which is perfectly fine, and I get to do this thing and then just forget about that, but none of this happens without them. I also want to recognize, I'm going to say this, my mom, right? So for those of you who know, I think Supervisor Chiesa mentioned it, I grew up in a single household here, so we're going to recognize who that hero is. That would be my mom. She's at that stage of life where she couldn't be here with us today, so, she made it happen. She made the house work. 3 very, very difficult children, raised as a single mom. And we relied on county services through much of our life, even though she was working very, very hard along the way. So those of you who know my mom's story, she was a daycare provider. She worked all kinds of different jobs, housekeeper, all kinds of stuff. But later in life, was very, very fortunate to lean into her own passions. And she was a case manager for a nonprofit serving the West Modesto community for many years. And that's the job she was in when she retired. She would be very, very proud to be here in this room. She was proud of me when I became CEO. But, I remember as being a child, I was actually in the waiting rooms of our community services facilities, those places where we receive services. The many important services that our 28 county departments do, those were all things that helped me, helped my family, helped my mom raise 3 pretty difficult children. So I'm very, very happy and proud and humbled to be able to just give back. And that heart that I bring to work every single day, that's where it comes from. It's been further forged by my family and friends. And I just want to thank all of you for this recognition. Thank the board and our entire community for allowing me to stand before you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
2 things. Jody married it up, which is a good thing. And he's got a killer haircut.
All right, next, I will ask for Christine Huber with Community Services Agency to recognize Lorena Balderas for her 25 years of service to the county and to the community.
Good morning, Chairman. For you all, Supervisors, Mr. Hayes and Mr. Bose. I'm here today with Lorena Balderas, who's celebrating her 25 years of service. I just learned today that she started out probation with Jody at the same time. So she began in 1999 as an administrative clerk 2 at probation. In 2002, she promoted to a legal clerk 4 at Department of Child Support Services, where she spent an impressive 17 years. After the 17 years with DCSS, Lorena pursued a career growth opportunity by promoting to a supervising legal clerk 2 with the District Attorney's Office. After 3 years with the District Attorney's Office, she brought her supervisory experience to the Community Services Agency, StanWorks Division, as a supervising account administrative clerk 2, where she has spent the last 2 years. During her time as a child support specialist, Lorena was instrumental in creating and managing the first bilingual caseload. By supporting her customers in their primary language, Lorena made notable progress in increased engagement with the non-custodial parents she worked with. As a result, they understood the benefits of remaining current on their child support orders and could be connected with needed resources to ensure their success. As a supervising account administrative clerk 2, Lorena has built a team of administrative clerk 2s and 3s who are efficient, adaptable, and ready for any challenge, much like she is. Lorena takes the frequent changes and challenges in her role head on with a solution-focused but empathetic approach. Her staff are receptive to her direction because they trust that she hears their concerns and is ready to advocate for them. She strikes an impressive balance of ensuring the needs of both our community and her staff are met. Lorena is also well-liked amongst her peers due to her approachability, direct, and creative nature. Congratulations, Lorena.
Well, congratulations, Lorena, on 25 years. Thank you so much for your service to the county and to the community. And your supervisor says so many good things. I'm sure all of that's true and then some, because to be at any organization for 25 years, it takes passion, it takes, the perseverance to show up every day and enjoy what you're doing every day, enjoy the people that you work with, enjoy the community you serve. So we thank you for your 25 years with Stanislaus County. And if you would like to say a few words. I don't want to put you on the spot, but everybody always does.
Nothing, I just want to say thank you for everybody who I've worked with throughout the years, all the mentors, and if you would have asked me in 1999 if I was going to be a supervisor standing here, I would have said, yeah, right. But because of the mentors and people that I've worked with, I'm here, and I'm a supervisor, which, again, not one of my goals, but I love shaping minds and making sure everybody is working, getting their, sorry, I'm losing my words, making sure that they're helping the community as I would do if I was a caseworker as well. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And the next employee, also with the Community Services Agency, Manuela M. Leon. Christy?
Yeah. Manuela began her career at Community Service Agency as an administrative clerk 2 in the Stan Works Division in October of 1999. With a focus on helping individuals access essential programs like CalWorks, CalFresh, Medi-Cal, and General Assistance, she became a welcoming first point of contact for those seeking support, ensuring that every application was handled with care and precision. In 2003, Manuela promoted to what is now known as the Family Service Specialist 1-2. She worked closely with families, providing them guidance on accessing public assistance benefits. Manuela also played a pivotal role in adapting to the agency's transition to an automated system in 2004, overcoming initial challenges and helping create a more streamlined service for county residents. In 2017, Manuela promoted to a Family Service Specialist 3, where she became deeply involved in the CalWorks Welfare to Work program, supporting individuals on cash assistance as they reconnected with the workforce. Her work extended beyond the basics, helping clients gain skills, secure their GEDs, or pursue higher education at Modesto Junior College. She also coordinated essential support services like child care and transportation. In July of 2023, Manuela promoted to Family Service Specialist 4, taking on a new role as a trainer for new family service specialists, using her vast experience to mentor and guide them. She monitored progress, offered valuable feedback, and ensured new staff are equipped with the knowledge and values needed to serve our community. As an FSS 4, she now contributes to the Quality Control Unit, reviewing cases to ensure accuracy and compliance, demonstrating her commitment to high standards in service delivery. Manuela's greatest achievement is being here today, celebrating 25 years of dedicated service to Stanislaus County and its residents. She feels deeply grateful for her health, for the chance to serve her community, and for watching her children, Lizette and Nicholas, grow into accomplished young adults. Her pride in both her family and work is a testament to her commitment to balancing her professional responsibilities with her role as a mother. Throughout her children's school years, Manuela was an active volunteer, regularly engaging in their education and being a supportive presence at school events. When transportation became an issue for after-hours sports in junior high, she stepped up, not only for her own children, but for those teammates as well, ensuring everyone had the chance to participate. Even in high school, Manuela's presence on campus was well known, with students recognizing her warmly, a reminder of her community spirit, though occasionally a humorous embarrassment for her son when she showed up unannounced. Manuela's legacy is one of compassion, integrity, and dedication. Her colleagues admire her work ethic, her ability to inspire others, and her unwavering focus on improving the lives of those around her. As she celebrates this milestone, Manuela looks forward to continuing her journey, sharing her knowledge, and remaining a trusted coworker to her team and a reliable resource for the community she holds dear. Congratulations, Manuela.
Congratulations, Manuela, on 25 years to your position here at the county. But I think even more remarkable is everything that you've done outside with help with your children and other children. It takes a lot to balance life, and it looks like you've done it well for 25 years. So we wish you the best in your remaining years with the county, and we thank you for your service to the community and to the county. So if you'd like to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all had a relaxing holiday weekend. First of all, I would like to say thank you to God for allowing me to complete my 25 years of service with Stanislaus County. I feel very, very fortunate to be here today. I also would like to thank my beloved parents for their upbringing and their love and their advice to always give your best effort to anything that you do, and also to never lose that faith. So thank you. I miss you both dearly, and I feel very proud again to be here. I also would like to say thank you to my husband, Jose. Thank you for your patience always. I know I'm a big, tough cookie sometimes. And to my sister, Maricruz, who always encouraged me to apply with Stanislaus County because she had found that the county was a very good employee. So thank you, Mary. To my children, who I love and adore, and my motivation always, thank you to those supervisors that always provided that positive environment and feedback so that I could be the employee that I am today. I sincerely appreciate you. To all the coworkers that I worked alongside for making work enjoyable, because I'm not saying I haven't had challenging days, but who have made going into work enjoyable. And to the ones that have become lifelong friends, because I have a few that have become lifelong friends, and you know who you are. Thank you so much for your support, for your care, and for just making work enjoyable. Thank you. And I have to honestly say that I have enjoyed my 25 years with Stanislaus County. I remember sharing the news with my father that I had gained employment with Stanislaus County, and I have to say that over the years, I understood what pride that was for him, that I had started working with the county. So at this point in time, I don't plan to retire anytime soon, so I'll continue to work with Stanislaus County as long as I'm able to. Thank you.
Right, Dave Lehman with our Director from Public Works will be recognizing Jason Dean McCormick with the Public Works Department on his 25 years.
Thank you. We love Jason. Jason started in Public Works in December of 1999, and he was 23 years old when he started. He followed in his parents' footsteps to be a Stanislaus County employee. Larry McCormick's sitting right there, and proud dad, and Larry was with the department for 24 years, and Brenda was in the planning department for many years. Jason started as a road maintenance worker in '99, became a senior road maintenance worker in 2013, and in 2019, he was promoted to road supervisor. He's been part of our paving crew his entire career. Jason oversees the chip seal program and has revamped the department's process, making quality the #1 priority. He's a father of 3 and a grandfather of 5. In his spare time, he enjoys building classic cars with Larry, and right now they're working on a '71 Nova. And I thought I'd write down a couple of the greatest hits of Jason McCormick. 1 mile of Euclid gotten paved, and it's now a racetrack. So be careful what you wish for. It was a bad road, now it's too fast. He did such a nice job. 3.5 miles of paving on Gaffrey. Paved Ike Crow this year, 1.25 miles of widening and new asphalt. And then real quick, chip seal, 114 miles, 121 last year, 117 in 22, 125 in 21, 121 in 2020, 101 in 19, 90 in 2018, and 82 in 2017. So that's back to the beginning of Measure L. And so Jason's a key part of Public Works' success, and we're glad to have people just like Jason.
Congratulations, Jason, on 25 years, 1 year more than your father. Not that we're keeping count, but thank you for both of your guys' service to Stanislaus County. It just goes to show when you have multi-generational families working for the county that it is a good employer and people choose to be here. And then all the work that you've done to make our roads safer, our community safer, we appreciate that. It's always not the most rewarding, but the way Dave put it, now that when I drive on Euclid, I'll know who to thank. So thank you so much on 25 years. We really appreciate everything you do. You sure?
Just say thanks.
You're welcome. I guess the greatest hits, you know, how do you overtop the greatest hits? You did a lot for this county. Well, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Next, we will be having Sheriff Jeff Dirksey from the Sheriff's Department recognizing Pedro Beltran for his 25 years of service to the county and our law enforcement family.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It is truly an honor to be here with Pedro this morning. Recognize his 25 years with the Sheriff's Office and with Stanislaus County. Pedro is a lieutenant in our Adult Detention Division, right, which is, for those that don't know, we're kind of like an iceberg. It is actually the bigger part. It's just the part that, quite frankly, we're happy that most of our community does not see. That is always a good thing that they don't see our jail, but it is no less critical. And like I said, it is actually the biggest part of our organization. And Pedro has been a clear leader here for many, many years. Throughout his career, Pedro has really focused on defensive tactics, professionalism, use of force expertise, and developing staff. Pedro is one of those folks, I would encourage you, nobody wants to fight him. He will definitely make you cry in that environment. But he is truly an expert in that. But that is not the only place where he has expertise. When we talk about programs and how we change the lives of those that are in our custody. When we opened our REACT Center, Pedro was the supervisor of our programs unit and really set the stage for kind of all the future endeavors and the success that we have had there. And so we thank Pedro for his leadership there. And finally, in his current assignment, one of the many things that he oversees is CIU, our Corrections Investigations Unit, which is a kind of new and somewhat of a trend-setting thing across the state that focuses on investigating incidents within our facilities to keep them safer. And we have just seen tremendous growth there. And Pedro, we want to thank you for your leadership in that and with everything that you've done at the Sheriff's Office and for our county. So thank you.
Pedro, thank you so much for everything you do. It's 25 years with Stanislaus County. I know that job is tough, and I'm sure on days it's challenging, but to continue to serve our community and our county and keeping us safe, we appreciate that. You could smile. You're kind of intimidating me. After what he said, that you can make people cry, I just want to see his smile. I want to see his smile. But thank you so much. Again, 25 years. We hope that you're here for many, many more years. Your expertise, your handling of the situations that only you can do in those tough situations, I'm sure is a huge asset, not only to the Sheriff's Department, but to our county. So thank you. Please say a few words. Please say a few words.
I don't really talk much, but I do want to thank the CEO's office and the Board of Supervisors for giving us this platform to be, congratulated for our years of service. 25 years has gone by pretty quick, I think. I'm one of the few that have, been with the department that have had 3 different sheriffs, with Sheriff Whiteman, who hired me back in '99, Sheriff Christensen, who promoted me to sergeant, and Sheriff Dirksey, who promoted me to lieutenant. It's been a wonderful 25 years, the best place to work, the only place I've worked. But the people that work there are the ones that make things happen. I'm just a lieutenant there, a manager, but all the employees are the ones that make it a fun environment and a good organization. I want to thank all the command staff, the sheriff's department, all the residents that are here, all the residents of Stanislaus County for their support of law enforcement. And last but not least, my family who's here today, my wife Jax, who without her the last 10 years, I don't know where I would have been. She keeps me grounded. My kids, Seth, Uriah, and my newest 4-month-old over here, Zane, who might keep me around here for a while. So that's all I have to say, and I hope to be here in another 5 years for my 3rd year. Thank you.
All right, we have CEO Hayes doing a 30-year recognition of service to Elizabeth King, our county clerk recorder. I'm sure other board members have something to say, but I'm going to have you do the presentation.
Thank you so much. This is way easier than that thing I was doing earlier. And I also want to thank Pedro. He was just walking out. Worked very closely with Pedro. He is a very, very tough guy right there. And I negotiated many, many labor contracts with this man, and he came within 1 second of choking me out so many times. Pedro, thanks for not choking me out so I could stand here today. I appreciate you. Okay. All right. Liz, and I can tell you this woman would have preferred to not stand here today, but we had a little heart-to-heart chat, and she is so, so well-deserving of this recognition. So thank you for putting up with us and doing this recognition for you today. Liz King started as a part-time employee with Stanislaus County back in 1983 and achieved her full-time status 30 years ago in 1994. She was working as a clerk at the Stanislaus Medical Center, correct? She transferred to the Board of Supervisors back in 1997, and she is retained in that function, supporting the Board of Supervisors and the clerk of the board's office that entire time. She promoted up through the ranks of confidential assistant over many years, very, very well-deserved promotions, and eventually stepped into leadership into a management position in 2003, and then more importantly, promoted to our clerk of the board position in 2016. This position is really one of the unsung heroes, the entire department of this organization. These meetings, they don't just happen. There's a tremendous amount of time every single week that goes into making a meeting like this work, complying with all the standards, as well as all of our expectations for supporting our community and making sure that the public process works and goes off without a hitch. Sometimes there's a hitch, but largely unscathed every single week. And Liz leads that entire team, and I'm sure she'll recognize some of them today. In her career, she's had many accomplishments along the way where she's actually not just making sure that our board meetings happen, but doing good work for future generations or future members of the clerk's office. She streamlined our processes for agenda management. She's created handbooks and trained all of our county staff on how these meetings are supposed to work. She's definitely increased our customer accessibility with our online directories and all of the online tools that we enjoy today. Those come from Liz's leadership. She's improved the archiving of our records, along with creating databases to maintain public records and indexes going all the way back to 1854. Wow, that goes way, way back. So she's seen some really interesting things when you dig that far back in the archives. Liz has seen and worked with all of that. She's created our strategic plans that we work under today. She worked with the Assessor's Office and County Council to enhance our assessment appeals process, which is a very, very challenging process in and of itself. Sorry, all your stuff goes on a 2 pages list, just saying. Bear with me. Okay, and she's led panel discussions at state conferences and workshops, training other clerks from throughout the state. She has maintained excellent relationships with her colleagues up and down the state, which helps us share best practices. She is definitely our resident county historian. If we need to know something about the past, Liz is that person that we go to. She was really instrumental in improving our compliance with ADA issues. And we have done a tremendous amount of investment in trying to make sure that not just our facilities are more ADA accessible, but all of our online tools, our policies, and so forth. Liz, the clerk of the board, actually led that effort on behalf of the county for many, many years. She upgraded this chamber that we see in front of us because after 25 years of being in this building, a lot of things are failing, and Liz has made sure that these meetings continue to be supported in the best way possible. And most importantly, she goes the extra mile with everything. No one leaves an experience working with Liz King disappointed, and I can tell you that from firsthand experience. The way that she supports and appreciates all of her colleagues, regardless of title, is just stellar. So Liz, congratulations on reaching this incredible milestone of 30 years with the county. You're 5 years ahead of me, plus your part-time service. So your commitment to excellence, attention to detail, and professionalism has ensured smooth operations and provided invaluable assistance to both the board members and the public. So thank you very, very much for your hard work, your loyalty, your unwavering dedication, and we are so, so proud to recognize you today for your 30 years. Congratulations.
All right, well, I think Jody has said everything that Liz has done, but just speaking for personal experience, and I know other board members can attest to this, she's the one that keeps the board going. She's the one that makes sure everything is in place before a meeting, all the behind-the-scenes work that sometimes goes unnoticed. I want to take this opportunity, shouldn't be at 30 years, we should thank you a lot more. I should, for sure. But everything you do for us that we sometimes forget to thank you for, publicly would love to thank you today and appreciate everything you do for the board and keep it running seamlessly. So it's no pressure. We need you to stay as long as possible because I don't think we would be a high-functioning organization without you there. So thank you so much. Any of the board members?
I'll just real quick, Liz. I've seen two, since I've been here, you and Christine before, and I'll say the same thing that I said when Christine left, and the people don't see is we get to sit here. First of all the stuff, everything everybody said, just amazing you put together. We asked you to set up meetings out in the district, 5 separate meetings when we did that a few years ago, and all these different locations, just all these things you do, it's amazing, and you always make these things work. But the thing that people don't see that we see, that at least for me, that really helps a ton is I can look down here, we can be having the worst meeting in the world, and people just screaming at us. And just like I said with Christine, I can look down and I can get a smile or a wink from you, just kind of telling me, hang in there, we're going to get through this. And those are the things that we all get to see from this direction that the public doesn't see, that just kind of helps us get through things, knowing that you're strong there and you're going to be there, help us get through this meeting too. So anyway, we appreciate you, we love you, and we don't want you going anywhere. Thanks, Liz.
And we have a CEO, and then we have the chief of staff for the county. That's essentially what it is. I look at when you're a new supervisor, you're elected, you show up, and you don't know who to talk to, how to get onboarded. They take care of all that. And I remember the conversation we've had, because I'll close her door, walk in, close her door, and I'll rage for a few minutes, and she'll say, I don't think that's a good idea. And I'm going to say this because you're younger than me, it's very motherly. She talks to me and calms me down, and I think all of us, and just helps out with the function of the county, so the county can function. So much love and gratitude from myself. You do great work for us, and again, the same thing I said about Jody. I consider you a great friend and appreciate all you do.
Liz, hold on. Liz, thank you for your knowledge, skills, and abilities in your position. I know I've put a lot on you. The board has put a lot on you. I just want to say thank you. And more importantly, thank you for just being you. It's always a great conversation when we're talking policy or what I can do or what I can't do. You always keep me straight, and I appreciate it.
Well, I know it's supposed to be about all the people of the recipients, but it's really an honor for me to be chaired this year and get to recognize 25 years and 30 years. I think that's really special that, and then all the other recipients. This has got to be the best part of the job is really recognizing the people that make all this happen. And two of the people that are at the helm of the county family, just recognizing them as a true privilege and honor. So thank you so much. Thanks for always making sure our Piccadilly's in on time. That means a lot to us. That's an inside joke.
She got to say some words too. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jody, for your kind words. Thank you to all the members of the board for your continued faith in me. I have had the pleasure of working, this will be 16 board members that I've had the pleasure to work with over the years.
Who's your favorite?
No comment. I've also had the pleasure of working with one interim CEO and 5 other CEOs in my career, and I am truly thankful for all the opportunities that have been given to me while working for Stanislaus County. I want to thank my family for their constant encouragement and support. They couldn't be here today. I wouldn't let my husband come because I didn't want to cry, so thank you. Thank you to my sons, Samuel and Joshua. I also want to thank my CEO family, because we are a family. I want to do a special call out to my team that none of this would be possible without them. Kelly, Casey, Jennifer, Nor, Peggy, Patty, Brittany, Patrick, and Jasmine. You make me enjoy coming to work every day, and I'm so lucky to be able to work with all of you. So I also want to give a thank you to those who started with the county before me, who generously shared their expertise and knowledge with me that have made this journey possible. Thank you.
All right. Next will be recognized, Christine Huber with the Community Services Agency will be recognizing Isabel Campos on 35 years of service.
Isabel began her career with Stanislaus County in June of 1989 as a Typist 1 at County Center 3 in the Special Investigations Unit Department. In November of 1989, she promoted to Typist Clerk 2 at the Medi-Cal Community Office. In June of 1994, Isabel was promoted to Account Clerk 2 at Public Works, and she promoted to Account Clerk 3 at CSA in Child Care in January of 1999, and then promoted to Accounting Technician in the same unit in June of 2012. Isabel was transferred to the CSA Collections Unit in July of 2016, and then promoted to a CSA Accounting Supervisor in June of 2022. Isabel has extensive knowledge of the Collections Unit, along with the laws and regulations from the state regarding the collection of overpayments. She has embraced her role as supervisor and works with her staff daily to create an environment of engagement and positivity. She also actively serves as the regional committee member in the Tax Intercept and Collection CalSAWS committees. Isabel is responsible for completing an important validation report that is audited externally, and she is responsible for submitting it to the state. Isabel prides herself on making deadlines and is always on time. Isabel has a unique way of seeing the good in others and develops a unit culture that fosters teamwork. Her open door policy enables any staff to talk with her at any time. Isabel is kind-hearted and very easy to talk to, either with her own staff or others within her division. Her warmth and sincerity creates a comforting atmosphere for both her colleagues and customers. She uses a straightforward approach to communication and her decision-making processes. We can rely on Isabel to make decisive actions based on well-documented facts. Isabel strives to continually improve policies, methods, and procedures. She's been a tremendous asset to the county and to the department and continues to make a positive impact on her colleagues. Isabel has been married to her husband Raul for 28 years. She has 2 grown sons, David and Andres. She enjoys time with her family and is grateful for the love and support from them over the past 35 years. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Isabel, on 35 years. Again, it always just is impressive to see when somebody starts out with the county family and then work their way up to your current position. I'm sure that didn't come with a lot of challenges and support from your family who's here, and we appreciate 35 years of commitment to Stanislaus County and to the residents of Stanislaus County. Thank you so much.
I'm not one to talk a lot, but I just want to say that I think it's amazing that my sister and I went to apply for this position over 35 years ago. Unfortunately, she didn't make it. But I do have 3 other sisters, 2 of whom have worked for the county along with my son, so this is a wonderful place to work at. I'm very thankful for all the opportunities, for everything that I have learned, and along the way, I have made my 4th sister, Rosa, who's here with me today. I love her with all my heart. I love my husband and my kids, and I'm very grateful. Gracias por todas las oportunidades que el condado nos da. Es el mejor lugar para trabajar. Se los recomiendo a cualquiera. Thank you so much.
All right, well, it's always, like I said, such a privilege to recognize all the people that make it happen. So I think this year we have a collective 190 years of service to the county with all the recipients. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything you do on a daily basis to make this county going. And to the sister that didn't get hired, we have openings. All right, well, thanks again. It's always such a privilege to recognize all the employees that have worked here and given so much to this county. So next is public comment period. Don't have any written comments.
Written
comments, sorry, written. Yeah, for public comment, yeah. And so, public comment is time for those in attendance to speak on items not on today's agenda. When you come up, please state your name for the record, and to be fair to everybody, if we can just keep the comments to 5 minutes. So first public comment card is Ron McMurtry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ron McMurtry here. I didn't want to overwhelm people with the different things that come up, but I was going to speak about something else, but this came up. And I want to read this letter I got from my homeowners association. I'm going to read the title and everything because I think Councilor Bose maybe wants to make a couple notes or whatever. Anyway, this is very concerning. North Villas it's very short, so I'll just read it. North Villas Homeowners Association, care of the Cooper Company, 3425 Coffee Road, number 1B, Modesto, California, 95355, October 31st, 2024. Notice of emergency special assessment of $84 per home for 10 months, a total of $840. Dear homeowners, we hereby inform you that the association has imposed an emergency special assessment of $84 per each of the 187 homes for 10 months, $840. The emergency special assessment is necessary in order to fund the association's payment of its insurance policy premium for 2025. The necessity to fund a large increase in the association's insurance premium was not reasonably foreseeable by the board when it adopted the association's 24-25 budget in May 2024. It was not until September 2024 that the board was informed by the association's insurer that a large unforeseen premium increase. In particular, the premium is being increased by $173,000, I'm rounding, from $60,397 to $233,537, and I'm just going to comment, almost a four-fold increase. State law authorizes the board to impose an emergency special assessment under these circumstances. Please find enclosed the board's resolution for the special assessment. Your first payment of the 10 months of the $84 special assessment is due December 1st. Oh, it's next year. Never mind. Okay, I was freaked out. Okay, sorry. 2025, so we have a little time. Please deliver your payment. Okay, sincerely, the board. Okay, I got the year wrong, but I have concerns because of the large increase. So I do have a call into the state insurance commissioner about the legality of whether an insurance company can make that kind of increase. It said state law. It does not state the state law. It also does not state where in the CC&R about the rules of special assessments, so we understand how the board, has authority to do that. The board's resolution that was supposed to be enclosed, they did not enclose that, so that wasn't in my letter. There was a cover sheet and then this letter. Okay, I said not enough notice, so no, that doesn't apply anymore. The delivery address is not the same as the place where we pay our dues, so that seems suspicious to me. There's no guarantee that we receive these letters. I mean, I got it. No, it wasn't certified delivery. It was just a pre-sorted routine thing. So this just all seems fishy to me. It's the Cooper Company, and I assume they manage a lot of properties in Modesto and in some of the unincorporated areas, so I assume there's plenty of residents, like Chateau Provence, for instance, might probably have gotten the same notice. And in our community, we have a lot of retirees, so this is a big increase, and I'm in my personal situation right now, this is a really tough thing to have this additional $840 a year. So I would appreciate if someone could direct me to a county or possibly a City of Modesto office that would like to take a closer look at this as far as the legality, especially the way it was handled. It's just a sudden kind of thing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ron. The next public comment card I have is Stephen Morrow.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, Mr. Hayes, and Mr. Bose. I'm going to make some comments on the election and where we're going into the future. But first, I want to add my own thanks to all of those who were honored today. And I know, Liz, along the 30 years, you've worn out a few copiers along the way. So there's a lot that goes to keeping this operation going. So thanks to everybody. I also want to thank Donna Lindler and her staff first for conducting the smooth and fair election we just went through. So our republic depends on those dedicated people. And if you cry fraud whenever you lose an election, that just brands you a sore loser. That's not the American way.
That's true.
I got interested in politics thanks to my political science teacher in high school. He knew a lot of people. So at my high school, we had congressmen, assemblymen, city councilmen, and other public officials come to speak, and that included Mario Cuomo before he was governor of New York. So he whetted my appetite on following politics, and I've just continued to observe. So congratulations to everybody who won. Today is the last day for properly postmarked ballots to arrive and be counted, and there are still some close races out there, so we'll have to see how this last group of ballots actually changes things. So for those of you who won, time to roll up your sleeves and get to work. And for those who lost, losing is never pleasant at anything, but it's the time to reflect on what happened and decide on your future plans with your family, friends, and advisors. Specifically, I want to say I'm glad that Measure P on the marijuana tax passed. I know that's going to break Supervisor Withrow's heart that these development agreements won't be coming forward anymore, but the county showed that it needed to do something, and we stepped up and made it happen. More on a general basis, the Republican Party has now been given the task of leading what is still a very narrowly divided Congress. Their track record in the past, though, has shown them to be much better at rabble-rousing and pointing fingers and arguing amongst themselves than actually governing. So we're hoping that they'll step forward this time and actually show that they can lead and govern at a time when this country really, really needs it. The Democrats, they have to look in the mirror and analyze what happened so that they can plan for the future. And then they have to decide, are they going to work with the Republicans to get things done, or are they going to be an impediment? Only they can make that decision. And both parties are going to have to look for new leadership as well, since President-elect Trump is not eligible to run for another term. So they've got to look into who's going to step forward and provide that strong leadership that we're going to need in the future. Now, as far as running for office, if you're thinking about running, you really almost have to start now, because the costs of running any serious campaign are just staggering. If you're going to make a serious run at the presidency in 2028, you are likely going to have to raise $8 billion. And if you're going to make a run for the governor's office, that's $100 million just to start. So you need to start passing the collection bucket and make sure you use a big one. And as far as my own future plans, I'm going to continue to serve on the Keys Municipal Advisory Council and the Stan RTA Board of Directors. I'll continue to observe and comment when appropriate. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Stephen. Next speaker is Nicole Kraus.
Hello, good morning. My name is Nicole Kraus, and I'm a home care provider for in-home support services, and I'm also with the, the UDW, which is United Domestic Workers Union. So I'd like to say good morning to all of you, and thanks for having us speak today. So I am here to represent the 7,000 in-home support services providers in Stanislaus County, and we truly appreciate the county's continued support and commitment to the IHSS program, which is essential to the well-being of so many vulnerable individuals in our community. As we look forward to the up-and-coming discussions around wages and benefits on November 18th, we're excited to collaborate in a way that values both the essential work that we do and the county's budget priorities. Our goal is to work together towards a sustainable solution that ensures providers are recognized for their dedication, allowing us to continue delivering high-quality care for those that rely on us. And we're optimistic about these discussions and are grateful for your open-mindedness and your partnership. And thank you for your time and for everything you do for our community.
Thank you. All right, next speaker card I have is for Nancy Robinson.
Good morning, Chairman Brewall and members of the board. It's been a while since I've been in before you. My name is Nancy Robinson, president of the Modesto Garden Club. I'm here this morning to personally invite you to share in the beauty of the upcoming holiday season by joining us at our upcoming special events available for the public to view. We're holding our annual Elegant Holiday Table Viewing at Del Rio Country Club on Wednesday, December 11th from 1 to 7. You can purchase these tickets at the door of the country club for $10 each. We will have 31 beautifully decorated tables for you to view and enjoy. Come join us for some light refreshments and get inspired with these holiday arrangements. Then our holiday home tour will be held on Saturday, December 14th. That's just 3 days after the table viewing. Tickets are $20 each and may be purchased at the number of local merchants as well as the Garden Club office and on our website. We will have 4 beautifully decorated homes to celebrate the season. The time of the tour will be from 10 to 3 p.m. Proceeds from these events help support over a dozen philanthropic community projects the Modesto Garden Club performs each year. We would like our community to support our club and all we do for the city of Modesto here in Stanislaus County. And just to bring you up to speed on a couple of current activities, we just planted over 150 pots in the downtown area with all new fall colors. The Eileen Memorial Clock at the Convention Center has been rejuvenated and looks beautiful. Now, to let you know about a new project that has been started, the commemorative Air Force Central Valley Squadron is in the process of re-landscaping their hangar near the Modesto Airport. The Modesto Garden Club will be part of this project on the south side of the hangar by providing a Blue Star Memorial marker to be incorporated in their new design. The Blue Star Memorial is a program that honors men and women who have served, who are currently serving, and who will serve the United States Air Forces. This coming spring, there will be a public dedication ceremony commemorating this special project. One last reminder, don't forget to support our elegant holiday table viewing at Del Rio Country Club on Wednesday, December 11th, and our holiday home tour on Saturday, December 14th. The Garden Club appreciates the community's support. Thank you for your attention this morning.
Thank you. Next speaker card I have is for John X. Mataka.
Good morning. Well, congratulations to all the awards, employees and their awards. I just want to briefly talk about an issue that deals with the Housing Authority, Stanislaus Housing Authority, and it concerns the water issue at the Wesley Housing Authority, better known to us out there as the Wesley Migrant Camp, and the school, Grayson Charter School, that is right there next to the migrant camp. You know, although I live in Grayson, I have a P.O. box in Wesley, and who knows for how long, about every 3 months I get a notice talking about the carcinogenic, I forget the chemical's name, that's out of compliance with the wells that serve the Wesley community. I know that my humble understanding of the issue is that I know that the children at the school don't drink that water. They buy 5-gallon jugs to give to the children at the school, but the residents, to my knowledge, do. So I just want to get an update on what's going to happen with that situation, because I know they have a community service district there, but I'm not sure what they have to do with the water. I know that they have to do with the sewer, but what is the obligation of the Housing Authority, being that they have all of those tenants there, and you know, the water is contaminated. So I'd appreciate if somebody would get back to me with an understanding of who is responsible for that situation and who we need to contact to clean that up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next speaker card I have is for Laura Placencia.
Hello, good morning, County Board of Supervisors, and good morning, community of Stanislaus. I want to congratulate the board and also our community about Covanta, the local and last incinerator of the state, the contract finally ending. And I'm excited to celebrate that we have one less pollution source. And now that will be getting cut back, considering our already struggling air quality, where we have among the worst air quality in our nation. And therefore, I look forward to learning more about what the cleanup planning process would be like and what future waste management looks like here in our county. And hopefully, it heads towards a more sustainable practice that does not include polluting and worsening the state of our air. Next, I'd like to speak about something that is later on the agenda, but wanted to mention about the Farm Worker Advisory Committee. I'm very grateful that this was brought on, given the clear lack of understanding about farm workers and their lifestyles from CVOC. They set up crucial meetings in downtown Modesto on a weekday at 2 p.m., being completely inconsiderate of farm workers' schedule and accessibility, given that most farm workers live in the more rural areas of our county. And the best way to meet them is to meet them where they're at, providing meetings that are closer and more accessible to them. In addition, they mentioned that they were going to be doing a second meeting, and that meeting unfortunately was only held via Zoom, which, if you truly understand our farm workers, most of them are technologically isolated and therefore is once again not accessible. I attended that first meeting and I signed up. And therefore, I was expecting to receive notice about this second meeting via Zoom, but unfortunately, I didn't even receive notice, and I only learned about it aftermath from other community members. And therefore, I come here to ask, how are you guys ensuring that the $1 million that was given to CVOC is being put to good use? And after hearing farm workers' perspectives about CVOC, they are required to, in a sense, have to leave their jobs because the trainings aren't offered in after hours from 5 to 7. I've heard of multiple farm workers who have requested for the trainings to be moved and not only be offered 8 to 5, because that's when farm workers are working, like normal people that work. And therefore, to move the trainings from 5 to 7, or at least later in the afternoon, to be more accessible by farm workers. Overall, the efforts from CVOC have me very concerned. It seems like very mediocre efforts to truly accommodate farm workers' lifestyle and their needs. And I would like to understand better how, what the accountability is onto their ensuring that they are actually providing service. And lastly, I would like to comment on this committee composition and ensuring that translation is being provided, that some training is provided to ensure that they understand what the process is. Also, understanding that retaliation is a common practice within farm workers. Farm workers will get, for speaking up, will get put on lists where then they won't get called. And because there's high numbers of farm workers, it's easier to replace workers, and therefore retaliation is a very high concern from farm workers. And therefore, if some of those requirements are not able to be reached, then I highly suggest for you guys to include or to re-add the option to include a family member to be a part of this committee, to be able to voice these concerns, as the retaliation impacts can be of high concern within the farm worker community. Thank you for your guys' opportunity to speak. Thanks.
Thank you. And next speaker card I have is for Milt Triweiler. Triweiler, sorry.
Good morning, Stanislaus County Board members, staff, and Stanislaus County residents, fellow Stanislaus County residents. I am Milt Triweiler, and we humans think we're pretty smart. Each of us think that we know what is true, and I'm no exception to that. Obviously, what I say I believe is true, or I wouldn't be saying it. And this can be kind of disconcerting in that we all know that no two of one of us agree. So we all believe that what we believe is true, and we can't all be right. And just a general comment, you can fool the people But you can't fool the laws of physics or the laws of mathematics. These are set things that we're all under. We're all under their control. You can't change the laws of physics or the laws of mathematics. We're using up the resources that we need for our children for future generations so they can survive. So the two resources the one resource I'm thinking of here, of course, in Stanislaus County is our farmland. We are we should all be positively aware that we have the best farmland in the world right here in Stanislaus County. Not only do we have the best farmland, we also have the water supply to supply that farmland with water for hundreds of years. And you look at our globe, and it's kind of amazing that just one small valley in the world contains the best farmland in the world. We are the agricultural center of the world. And unfortunately, people will drift away from that idea or that thought and think that, oh, this is just some land. We can do anything. All of you have driven across Nevada. You've driven across New Mexico, I'm assuming, Arizona, Texas. And what do you see? Do you see any farmland there? You don't see farmland there because it doesn't exist. And that's what we have to be so careful about. And speaking of the globe again, we look at our Earth and we think that this is an infinite thing. Okay, how many miles is it? What is the diameter of our planet? The diameter of our planet is 8,000 miles. Okay, then we can multiply that by pi d. The circumference of our planet is 25,000 miles. It's rotating once every 24 hours and it's circling around the sun every 365 days. We've got to look at the full picture. We have to realize that we are the stewards for the future. And we're not thinking about that. Not all of us. I mean, I know I am, but not all of us are thinking about that. We kind of just put that in the background and not really accept it as a fact. We have a responsibility to plan for the welfare of our children and our descendants. And that's why I'm here speaking tonight. This is all of us have a responsibility to plan for our children and our descendants. And that's my message. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any members of the public wishing to speak on items not on the agenda? All right. Yeah, I know you have some comment cards for items on the agenda, but feel free. Come on up.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Good morning, Dr. Ana Andrade, a resident of Stanislaus County for over 40 years, resident of Patterson, and today my public comment is indirectly related to the agenda discussion item that's going to be spoken about today. So I want to go ahead and echo what Mr. John Mataka has mentioned earlier about the water situation in Grayson Elementary School. So Grayson and Wesley are not too far from Patterson. And it's so unfortunate that students that are attending school every day, that we want them to get an education, have, good resources, do not have access to drinking water. I mean, periodically that happens, and that's just not acceptable to me. Mr. Jody Hayes also mentioned today the word investment, right? Making sure you're all stewards of the money of the county, right? Making sure that we are investing in these schools that require us to do so. I highly encourage you to think about that. I know that Supervisor Condon is a little overworked here in District 5, but I think that's all our responsibilities to make sure that we are investing in the maintenance, right, of these unincorporated areas. That's our responsibility, and it's not acceptable for these young kids to not have access to water. And this is also related to, when we think about that school that's in Wesley, yes, a lot of it has to do with multiple partners, right? The Housing Authority. The Housing Authority gets a lot of funding from who? Ding, 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 the county, right? So I think we all have a responsibility to come and sit to the table and figure it out. It's just unacceptable, and that's the comment that I wanted to make. And then obviously this is all related to farm workers. Who are those students that are attending school at Grayson? A lot of those are children of farm workers. And we just said it, the previous speaker talked about, agriculture being the #1 industry, right? Protecting our farmland, protecting our work base, our talent base. So as you're considering things, moving forward, invest those funds, right? Those infrastructure dollars that we all talk about in schools. So that's my comment. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good morning, board members. As you know, I wear many hats. I am today, at this point, for public comments, I'm addressing you as Bianca Lopez, the Vice President of the Latino Community Roundtable. And I want to give this public comment as I will be speaking using another hat during the public comment period. But good morning, members, Board of Supervisors. I'm speaking on behalf of the Latino Community Roundtable and our farm working communities. We appreciate your initiative to create Farm Worker Advisory Committee, recognizing the importance of addressing the unique challenges faced by farm workers in Stanislaus County. This step shows a commitment to supporting an essential part of our community and economy. We have several requests as you consider implementing this advisory committee. We request for effective outreach, as we've learned as community members, as farm working communities and advocates, that we must have this committee to really have meaningful and insightful participation and engage farm workers directly. We're concerned that relying on website posts or social media alone may not reach many farm workers. We recommend that in addition to appointing representatives to the board, that we partner with trusted local organizations like churches and community groups, which farm workers already rely on for support and information. Set up informational booths at key locations like farms, markets, and housing communities. Hold bilingual town hall meetings at accessible locations. We also request that you address the language barriers and power dynamics before you implement this advisory committee. We request that the board ensures accessibility by providing bilingual resources and interpretation at all the meetings for those who are English only and Spanish only, or any other monolingual language. Addressing the language barriers that many farm workers face. Additionally, it's essential that the committee provide a safe, welcoming environment where farm workers feel empowered to speak openly without intimidation. We suggest training for committee members and cultural sensitivity to foster an inclusive and respectful atmosphere. We also request transparency and accountability. To build trust, we ask the board to provide regular updates on the committee's progress, showing that farm workers' voices are truly leading to action. The accountability will reinforce that the committee is a genuine commitment, not just a symbolic gesture, as many of us fear this might be. Thank you for considering these recommendations. We appreciate your commitment to including farm worker communities in the important conversation and look forward to working together to create a truly inclusive and responsive committee. There are other points that the Latino Community Roundtable and others will be sharing today, so I will spare you the next few minutes. But thank you for your time, and we hope that after the presentation that you truly allow for a discussion and be able to answer questions that the community has about this advisory committee, because we don't want it to be something that is a feel-good kind of committee for you, but that it is actually a resource and a tool that farm workers and farm working communities can use to bring forth change. Thank you.
Good morning, County Board of Supervisors, Chairman Manny. I'm honored. My name is Debbie Martinez, and I've been serving Stanislaus County, the disadvantaged population of children, 40 years. 1984 I entered. I now stand proud, and I want to thank Stanislaus County, the residents, especially the stakeholders, the parents that believed in my voice for the last 40 years, making sure that equality for our children that were gapped is now being paid attention to. We now have SB 419. Washington came down and asked me, Debbie, what are you looking for? I said a resolution. PBIS. Good stuff is coming our way for our children. I said it's time to close the school to prison pipeline. That is now being dialogued in Washington, Sacramento. I am here to stand proud as a newly elected school board. Vito, you and I'm going to need a big brother in Turlock. Chance, thank you for everything you've done for me to get me to where I'm at with my professionalism, how to come before a governing board. When I fall behind the scenes, Terry, you've been there for me. Buck, I've talked to you about the situations and the children over in Oakdale, and they've spoken to you. People are ready for change. People are ready. And I'm here to stand proud to say I'm not going to back down or bow down. In fact, Lieutenant Beltran, I'll use him for my bodyguard. So I just want you guys to know that good things are coming to Stanislaus when it comes to education. Because in 4 years, I plan on getting to legislation if God willing. But until then, legislation will come back to Stanislaus, and I'm going to make sure that all of those that needed to be held accountable under my watch will now be held accountable. Thank you, Stanislaus, for believing in Debbie Martinez. We've only just begun. Thank you.
All right, any other members of the public wanting to speak on items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we're going to go to the consent calendar. Oh, sorry, I apologize.
Hello, everyone. My name is Veronica Torres. I wasn't going to speak today, but I just think it's incredibly important to address the hate crimes that have been happening in Park Lawn neighborhood. I'm sorry to say this, but we have been having kill wetbacks, and they've been taken down. However, there's still one on, I believe, Nelson Way. It's been there for more than 6 months. I have no idea why it has not been taken down. It's on a fence. It can be painted over. And so, addressing like farm workers and with the recent election and what's been happening, how are we going to make our workers who are putting food on our table feel welcomed here, right? And so I just really want for people to acknowledge this and to dismantle the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy that I have seen here. And that is all. Thank you.
Excuse me, if you don't mind, before you leave today, could you just give us the specific location you just referenced, and just stop at anybody at the back table and take that information? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak real quick. Just when it comes to addressing the farm workers.
Excuse me, sir, if you could just name your...
Sebastian Cervantes. I'm a community member here in Stanislaus County. But I just want to address, when it comes to farm workers, the time aspect of it really matters as well, considering that here it is like 10:30 in the morning on a weekday where a lot of the farm workers are out working right now, so they're not being able to express their struggles and experiences. Even me right now, I have to head out to work real quick, so I just really want to emphasize the time aspect of things when it comes to addressing the struggles that farm workers go through. And is that something you would consider going forward when addressing these things? Thank you.
Any other members of the public? All right, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board for consent calendar. Before the board takes action on the consent calendar, does anyone in the audience wish to provide public comment on any matter on the consent calendar? All right, seeing none, any member of the board wanting to speak on any item further?
Can I just comment on B4?
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so B4 on the agenda is the lease of the Empire Migrant Center for winter shelter for homeless families back in, it's about 90 units, It's used March through November for migrants, transitory folks, a great use. There is, back in 2018, so it's only utilized in the spring and summer. The Housing Authority, along with our CSA, had leased it in the winter. There's only 20 units, I think, that have heaters in them. Most of them have air conditioners only, but not heaters. But we've been utilizing it for homeless families and people who are enrolled. And today there's an extension of that. So from 2018 through another 4 years after this year, it takes us to 28. We'll have utilized that. I think it's a great utilization. We continue, this was a partnership with the state of California when it was actually built, but utilizing some of these units year-round has really been successful. CSA has reported out before about launching these families, and we've had great success getting them on their own. So I just like to point that out because I think this is a great use of public resources for multi-use.
Thank you. All right, if there's no further comment on any of the consent items, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve all consent calendar items.
Second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Withrow and a second by Supervisor Buck on it. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. And now we are going to discussion items. Item 7.1, acceptance of an update on the termination of the service agreement among Stanislaus County, City of Modesto, and ReWorld Incorporated regarding the waste-to-energy facility located in Crow's Landing, California. Will Richards and Rob Koslevy and the team will be presenting on this item. Good morning, all.
Good morning, Chairman Graywall, Honorable Board, CEO Hayes, and Council Bose. The purpose of this agenda item is to provide an update on the recent termination of the service agreement among Stanislaus County, the City of Modesto, and ReWorld, formerly known as Covanta, concerning the waste-to-energy facility located at Crow's Landing, California. This update is intended to inform the board and stakeholders about the status of the agreement termination and the implications for waste management operations in the region. Presenting today is Will Richards and Fidelis Gines.
Good morning, Chairman Grugel, members of the board, CEO Hayes, and County Council Bose. I am Fidelis Gines from the Department of Environmental Resources, and with me today is Will Richards, our solid waste manager. In today's presentation, we are going to cover the historical background of the ReWorld facility, the department's alternative waste management planning strategies, ReWorld's financial challenges, the impact of ReWorld's closure to the waste management system of Stanislaus County, the department's response to the closure of the ReWorld facility, and the breakdown of the settlement funds and the waste-to-energy fund distribution. In 1983, Stanislaus County explored the feasibility of resource recovery as a waste disposal means, which included composting and waste-to-energy transformation. In 1985, the City of Modesto and Stanislaus County, known as contracting communities, formally agreed to partner with Stanislaus Waste Energy Company to build and develop a waste-to-energy facility. The Stanislaus Waste Energy Company was a subsidiary of Ogden Martin Systems, formerly known as Covanta, and currently called ReWorld, and had the intellectual rights of the technology to be used at the facility. The facility was funded with equity capital from the company and the sale of bonds from the contracting communities. The county would act as a treasurer for the established resource recovery account to fund the operation and maintenance of the facility. The company was owned by the contracting communities while being operated by the company. It was sited at the existing Fink Road landfill through a land lease agreement from the county. The site map in front of you shows the waste-to-energy facility in yellow. The area in red is a monofill where the ash is buried, and the area in green is the Fink Road landfill. The facility was designed and built to process approximately 800 tons of municipal solid waste per day, loaded into boilers that ultimately incinerated the waste-producing steam. The steam generated through incineration generates 22 megawatts of electricity, which is enough to power approximately 13,000 homes. The municipal solid waste processed at the facility is reduced in weight by 60% and reduced in volume by 90%, which adds significant life to the landfill. The transformation process produces ash and metals. The ash is deposited in a monofill, and the metals are shipped to a recycling facility. The facility recovers nearly 6,000 tons of metals per year. In the original agreement, the facility was owned by the contracting communities and operated by the company. The contracting communities were responsible for all operational costs and liabilities. The company could procure up to 7,300 tons of special waste with the contracting community's approval, with a guarantee to process 243,300 tons of municipal solid waste annually. Over the course of this initial agreement, the facility processed an average of 260,000 tons of municipal solid waste annually from the contracting communities and the incorporated cities within Stanislaus County. After running at an operating loss for several years, the contracting communities and the company restructured their service agreement in 2012. This transitioned ownership of the facility to the company. The restructuring reduced the risk exposure for the contracting communities from 100% to 25% for unforeseen circumstance costs. The contract changes also established more predictable tip fees and prevented further operating loss to the resource recovery account. In exchange, the contracting communities ceded capacity of up to 12,000 tons per year, up from 7,300 of special waste. The restructured service agreement provided the contracting communities with 15% disposal at the facility through 2027. Through the past decade, the facility had been financially challenged through stringent increases in regulation. In October 2015, SB 350 removed the renewable energy designation that the facility had benefited from since 2002. The loss of renewable energy credits caused a drop in the revenue received for the electricity generated at the facility. To financially sustain the operation, the contracting communities and the company amended the service agreement in 2017. This eliminated the contracting community's financial exposure due to unforeseen circumstances in exchange for allowing the company to procure up to 30,000 tons per year of special waste. Later that year, the California Air Resources Board eliminated the exemption of waste-to-energy facilities from the cap-and-trade program, which caused the company to incur additional costs to purchase carbon credits for the facility. The facility was afforded transitional assistance through CARB's program through 2024. CARB continued to increase regulations on emissions at the facility in 2021. Rule 4352 was adopted, which required the facility to install additional equipment to decrease nitrogen oxide emissions by January 1st, 2024. The equipment was installed at the facility in 2023 to successfully meet the new emissions requirements. In 2022, AB 1857 removed the 10% diversion credit that was afforded to jurisdictions who sent waste to the facility. The diversion credit assisted the contracting communities in meeting the waste diversion mandates of AB 939 since inception in 1989. The loss of the diversion credit dealt a significant blow to the beneficial use of the facility for the contracting communities.
As a result of the ongoing regulatory challenges facing the waste-to-energy industry, the contracting communities partnered with HDR in January 2023 to explore waste management alternatives that would be suitable for the county's waste management system. Based on the needs of the county, the study focused on the ability to process MSW and excluded composting and anaerobic digestion due to the existing operations of Modesto and Recology's compost facilities. All potential technologies must have full-scale commercial operations in North America for a minimum of 3 years and have the processing capacity to handle the waste flows of the entire county in order to be considered. HDR presented 5 potential options to the contracting communities consisting of chemical transformation, gasification to biofuels, mixed waste processing, landfill-centric disposal with continued use of the waste-to-energy facility, and a full transition to landfill-centric disposal only. At this stage, the contracting communities established a work group with representatives from the other incorporated cities of the county to examine the advantages and disadvantages of each option. The findings of the report showed that the continued use of the waste-energy facility would likely require the cost of the existing tip fee to double, and the other technological options presented did not provide sufficient cost and diversion benefit to the residents of the county. This work group recommended to continue the use of the waste-energy facility through the existing contract term and then transition to a fully landfill-centric disposal model without further use of the waste-energy facility. In the midst of the waste alternative study, ReWorld reached out in October 2023 to express concerns of the financial challenges facing the facility. In December 2023, ReWorld sent written correspondence to the contracting communities formally proposing 3 options to mitigate the ongoing financial challenges at the facility. The first was a mutual agreement to terminate the service agreement to cease operations effective June 30th, 2024. Second was to significantly increase the tip fee at the facility and/or cede additional capacity of special waste deliveries to the facility. Or the third option was that ReWorld could determine that it had met its contractual obligations to effectively terminate the agreement early. Understanding the severity of the financial hardships at the facility, the contracting communities negotiated an early exit of the agreement, effectively ending waste deliveries on December 2nd, 2024. As part of the agreement, ReWorld is responsible to decommission and demolish the facility over the next 2 years, anticipating completion in 2027. The closure of the facility comes with several implications to the county's waste management system. The increase in tonnage deliveries will likely decrease the life of the Fink Road landfill by approximately 9 to 11 years. And to mitigate operational challenges from increased tonnages, the department's actively working to increase staffing, equipment, and operating hours at the landfill. The county staff remain dedicated to exploring new opportunities to reduce landfill waste through cost-effective, efficient, and environmentally sustainable waste management solutions. The facility's closure also impacts the agreements that Stanislaus County has with the incorporated cities to direct franchise waste to the landfill or waste-to-energy facility. These current agreements expire on June 30th, 2025, and allow for discounted tip fees at both facilities, access to the permanent HHW household hazardous waste facility on Morgan Road, and 2 annual mobile HHW events, with the exception of Ceres and Modesto, due to their close proximity to the permanent HHW facility. The county also performs grant administration, education and outreach, and additional annual waste reporting requirements to the state for all incorporated cities except for the city of Modesto. These current agreements also dictate that all tonnage delivered to the waste-to-energy facility be charged $7 a ton for administrative and program fees. The breakdown of those is $3 a ton for household hazardous waste programs, $3 a ton for Assembly Bill 1939 programs, which cover grant administration, education, and reporting requirements, 50 cents per ton for scale house operations, 25 cents per ton to Modesto's administrative costs, and 25 cents per ton to the county's administrative costs. Since these program fees are currently connected to the tonnage delivered to the waste-to-energy facility, those fees will need to transition to the landfill tip fees in the upcoming agreements with the cities. Staff are currently working with HDR to determine the appropriate tip fee structure at Fink Road to cover the increased operating costs of the landfill and program funding for HHW and AB 939. And the results of the report will be used to negotiate new fees and waste delivery agreements with the incorporated cities. And our county staff anticipate returning to the board in June of 2025 for approval of these new agreements. So as part of the early termination agreement, the contracting communities will receive a settlement of $4 million. Per the joint powers agreement established between the City of Modesto and Stanislaus County, the distribution of these funds will be 58% to the City of Modesto and 42% to Stanislaus County. Similarly, the resource revenue account will also need to be dissolved upon closure of the facility and fulfillment of all financial obligations. Staff anticipates that there will be approximately $8 million in the fund to be distributed in the same fashion, with 58% to Modesto and 42% to Stanislaus County. The county plans to use their share of the proceeds of approximately $5 million to fund the additional equipment and staffing needs at the landfill in order to aid in stabilizing garbage rates for the residents and businesses of Stanislaus County. Today, staff is recommending that the board accept the update on the operations and service agreement between the contracting communities and Reworld Incorporated regarding the waste energy facility located in Crow's Landing Road, or Crow's Landing, California. Any questions?
Thank you so much for the presentation. Questions by members of the board?
Yeah, I do have a question, and I don't want to get speculative, so, because I know this isn't the time, but Reworld, the tonnage has been dropping from the 243. What, last couple of years, do you have a sense of how much refuse was headed in there?
On average, last 2 years, probably about 200,000 from the incorporated cities. And
200,000, so that's the waste stream that we're going to be dealing with on a go-forward basis. And then, since this is going to happen fast, I guess this is the only speculative question I ask. Do we have the ability to buy equipment, to procure employees, to put 200,000 more tons, or there's an expectation that some of this may bleed off to other counties?
We'll be working, like we said, we're currently working with HDR to get recommendations on the total staffing allotment, currently filling several vacancies at the Fink Road landfill, as well as seeking and expanding those operating hours right out of the gate.
Yeah, and for the public, when we redid the contract to bring all the cities back together, Turlock was taking refuse down to Merced's facility. It was actually closer, and the north end of the county was headed to the private landfill up in Stockton. And then to make economy of scale, we lowered the tipping fee, brought everyone together. That's how the MOU came about. So there'll be decisions to be made here in short order if this goes through. Thank you.
Supervisor Condon?
Thank you. Thank you so much for a presentation today. I do just have a couple questions. It's obviously, we've known about this, I guess, for, approximately last year or so. What is the pathway forward? What does the future look like? I know that's a big picture question, but are we formulating a strategic plan of what our next steps may or may not be? How do we get there? And I guess, when do we begin to have input on that process?
Well, I appreciate the question, and our team is currently evaluating all of the aspects of our current landfill and the needs of when we need to start looking at expanding that landfill.
So, do we have a timeline? Have we charted a course yet, or do we?
We're still working on that, and given the fact that the original life of the landfill was expected to be 2050, and we're in the range of 2039 to 2041 as indicated in the agenda item, we are going to start looking at that development in the next few years.
Next few years, okay. And I guess, when will we start being briefed on what that blueprint is going to look like moving forward? When can we anticipate?
As soon as it's developed.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I look forward to those developments.
And I'll just add one other element. Thank you very much for that, Rob. I do want to mention, kind of piggybacking off of what we just heard from Supervisor Chiesa, that our solid waste agreements with all 9 incorporated cities expire in the next year. So we've initiated conversations. The cities were involved in this process. They're aware of what changes have transpired here. So kind of steps in order is we do need our consulting team to help us understand what would be appropriate tipping fees going forward, considering there may be cost increases. And then cities will be indicating whether or not they intend to bring their solid waste to this landfill or whether or not they want to opt for other landfills that would impact the level of volume going out to Fink Road. And then once we have kind of that information put together, we'll be bringing board members along for briefings along the way as we start to learn information, not just from the consultants that we're engaged with, but also our city partners that have individual decisions that they need to be making as well.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions from members of the board? All right, if there's not, I'm going to take it out to the public. I have some public comment cards already. First speaker would be Bianca Lopez.
Okay. Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? Shit, I don't know what time it is. Sorry. Morning. Thank you. It's been a long morning already, I guess. So we've known about this for over 30 years because the community has been asking for this incinerator to not be in our community for that long. We've known for over 10 years that we needed to create a zero waste plan specifically because community members have been coming to the Board of Supervisor meetings and City Council meetings to the City of Modesto advocating for zero waste practices. So we've known for a very long time. And Valley Improvement Projects has actually been advocating for the closure of the incinerator for that long. And we have been proposing a zero waste plan for over a year. So there is a plan. There are very strategic methods of reducing the things that go to the landfill, Mr. Chiesa. No, we are not. We should not expect over 200 tons of waste to go to the landfill. That is only true if we keep doing what we are doing right now. The plan that Rob should be creating is a zero waste plan with programs and opportunities for community members to not take things to the landfill, so that we can properly sort our waste and reuse, reduce, and all the other re's possible so that we don't take our waste to the landfill. So there is light at the end of this tunnel, and I'm so glad that Covanta is out because we've been starving that beast for so long. We are excited to take this win that the incinerator is leaving because of the efforts of the community. I'm going to respond to a couple of things in this presentation. It was mentioned the costs of these other false solutions, which I am very excited that this work group decided to not allow to come to our communities, right? But chemical recycling, gasification, biofuels, those have more than financial costs to our community. Those are health costs that no one is talking about except for environmental justice communities. So I want to just make sure that that is clear and that we appreciate that work group acknowledging that landfilling is the best way to do that, but we can't just willy-nilly throw everything in the landfill because that's the plan. We have to reduce the waste that goes to the landfill. And our zero waste plan that we've shared with you many times and with Rob and Will, that there is a lot of programs, there are a lot of ways to reduce it. So no, we should not be sending 200 tons every year to the landfill. In addition to that, we purchased over 2,000 acres, I believe, back in 2000. And so just as an example of what other communities are doing when they implement zero waste practices, in Monterey County, once they ramped up their recycling and composting program several years ago, their 50-year landfill became a 100-year landfill. Anticipating closure date is now 2107. So we can make sure that our landfill lasts as long as it can, but we must create a zero waste goal now so that we know what we're working for. Chance Condit asked, and at what point do we get to be part of that conversation as Board of Supervisors, I'm guessing. But at what point does the community get to be part of that discussion? I asked back in January of 2024 for a copy of the HDR results, the report. Will said, "Oh, I can't share that with you," even though it's a public record, because it's only a draft. Well, I was bamboozled, right? I'm still learning about my rights. Now, my rights were violated because that report was not shared with me. In addition to that, sorry, I lost my train of thought because I'm very upset. You already know, my middle name is not Grace. But my heart is in the right place. And I think that the creation of this work group is also a way that the Environmental Resources Department went around the Brown Act and making transparency available to the public. The local task force is already a committee of people made up from every jurisdiction to meet this AB 939. Why would you create a new space? So that you can go around the Brown Act, so that community members cannot be at the table? That is also, I feel like, a violation of my rights, and I will be looking into that. Nobody goes to the local task force meeting. Well, now I know why, because you created another meeting that you're not obligated to share with the public about. When you're talking about facilities that the people own, facilities and plans with our money as taxpayers. So I'm very excited. As I said, Grace is not my middle name, but my heart is in the right place, and I'm very excited that Covanta is leaving. I am very excited for what the county is going to propose as a zero waste goal. I don't care if you call it zero waste. Call it whatever you want to call it. But let's set a goal to keep things out of the landfill, but do not keep the people as part of that process.
Thank you. All right, next speaker I have is Mary Ann Reynolds.
Good morning,
Morning.
Chairman and the Board of Supervisors. I'm Mary Ann Reynolds. I've lived here in Modesto for 6 years, having moved up from Merced and having lived there for 29 years. I mention this simply because I have been living in the Central Valley for a total of 35 years and have been very concerned about the unhealthy air that we all breathe and the damage it does to the health of everyone that lives in this area, especially to children. We have so many children now that are suffering from asthma, and that has so much to do with the quality of the air that we have. So when I heard that the incinerator here, well, when I first discovered that we had an incinerator here in the Stanislaus Valley, that Stanislaus County, that was burning our garbage, I was appalled to think that that was adding to the pollution that we already have in our air. So when I heard that Covanta and now ReWorld was wanting to close down sooner than their contract with us terminated, I was very pleased. But when I was reading the recommendations that the staff made to the board, I was really concerned that nothing was mentioned regarding in the contract and the termination mentioned the importance of making sure that when they close down and that they sort of include in the agreement that ReWorld will clean up the ground after it's closed. Because I have heard of too many circumstances when something is closed down and then they discover that the ground of that place was contaminated, and it was then taking years and so much money to sort of destroy the chemicals that are so deadly to the health of everyone. So I just want to make sure that in your agreement with ReWorld, that you make sure that you have something included regarding their responsibility. Because what I read here in the agreement, or in the whatever it is that you sign, it says here that after a series of negotiations, all parties have agreed to cease deliveries to the facility on December 2, 2024, and allow the company to fully decommission and demolish the facility. The demolition of the facility is expected to take approximately 24 months and concluded in 2027. Nothing there. It says demolition, but it doesn't say anything about cleaning up the contaminated soil of where their buildings are held. And I just want to make sure that you do get a commitment from them that they are going to clean up that ground and that earth and before they leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, they're putting it in the landfill.
All right.
No cost.
Next speaker I have for item 7.1, John X. Mataka.
Whoever told me to be quiet, don't tell me to be quiet.
John X. Mataka with the Grayson Neighborhood Council. In 2012, the county transferred ownership of the facility to Covanta. In this new agreement, they upped the amount of special waste that could be accepted from 7,300 tons per year to 12,000 tons per year to help offset the loss that Covanta was experiencing. And that's because special waste pays double, triple the amount that regular waste pays. And I'll get to why in a minute. Then in 2017, per the presentation, the special waste was up to 30,000 tons per year. Now, what is special waste? Special waste, and I know this from one of your own reports that somebody mistakenly gave me 20 years ago, is Clorox mops, fax cartridges, printer cartridges, carpet scraps, the most toxic items to burn. Therefore, Covanta makes more money at the expense of our health. Due to ongoing regulatory changes, the contracting communities contracted with HDR Incorporated, a consulting firm, in January of 2023 to look at other options. The options of composting and anaerobic digestion were excluded from the study because the county felt that they had adequate capacity for organic waste. This brings me to another point. I have been the community member on the Stanislaus County Solid Waste Committee for over a year, and not one time did we discuss these issues due to a lack of quorum. I knew that something wasn't right, and I asked for agenda items to be discussed, including a zero waste plan presentation, but never got the opportunity to discuss it due to every meeting being canceled due to lack of a quorum. Little did I know that the members of this local solid waste committee were meeting outside the local solid waste committee to discuss these issues and options, but the community was excluded. Was the purpose of the solid waste committee only to provide a smokescreen so that they could meet privately without community input? The solid waste committee had over 40 members. You can't get a quorum out of 40 members. That should have been a light switch right there. Furthermore, on the landfill issue, The landfill capacity was supposed to be met at the landfill in 2050. Now the county says 2041. In 2000, the county bought 2,100 acres at the landfill site with enterprise funds, which many thought were illegal. My point is, at that time, they were planning on making a mega landfill as high as the Doubletree Hotel, bringing garbage by train from LA and the Bay Area. Now, we are worried about the landfill capacity? Yeah, right. I'm in favor of the county looking at a zero waste plan that VIP and community members came up with, which would keep garbage out of the landfill and out of the air we breathe. Transparency concerning Covanta has been non-existent. Thank you.
Milt Treeweiler.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to make some comments on this. First of all, starting with the last comment I was talking about, we are on the best farmland in the world. And waste disposal will greatly increase if you choose to develop housing in Stanislaus County. I already gave you the reasons why we shouldn't be developing any of the land in Stanislaus County. And now we've got another reason, because the increased waste of this housing is going to create even more of an issue. You've heard some very, very good speakers talk about zero waste, recycling of our waste products. This is a necessity. I had the globe up here earlier. We're polluting our entire world. And whether you want to believe it or not, we're also warming up our entire world. And it's not going to go on forever. You're not going to deceive the laws of physics. It's not possible. You're not going to do it. No one on this board is going to do it. No CEO is going to do it. No one is going to do that in the world. We're going to burn ourselves up as a planet if we don't start thinking ahead about the future. I don't know why people cannot just face reality. I know, I gave some of the reasons before. Because we're so involved with money. Money is our #1 issue in the world. And I don't care what country it is. It can be Russia, China, the US. Everybody is just looking for money. The richest person in the world is still looking for more money. This is insanity. We can't go on like this. We've got to start being realistic and realize what's happening to us and what we're doing to ourselves. So I did have a question for Vito. I don't know if he's able to comment on this, but my question to Vito would be, and this is because I believe this is true, but I'm not sure. When we put in housing over farmland, I know that there's waste from farmland farming, but I think that's pretty much already being recycled because the trees are being recycled, things like that. So when you have this land in Stanislaus County being used like it should be used because it's the best in the world, it's not producing as much pollution as it's going to produce when you develop all of the land. And that's ridiculous. You don't develop the best farmland in the world. Thank you.
All right. Any other members of the public wanting to speak on item 7.1 that haven't turned in a public comment card? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to bring it. You weren't raising your hand for 7.1.
No, I wrote down the wrong number.
Yeah, 7.
I don't want to speak right now, though.
Oh, sure. Come on up.
I'm sorry, Manny, I wrote down the wrong number. Debbie Martinez, active member for Wea La Raza Parents Union. And I'm actually going to be going to an IEP meeting. What I'm noticing is that when you guys make all these decisions, let's keep, when you say future, our children in mind. Because I'm noticing here in Stanislaus County, and I'm in 3 counties, it's been said that Central Valley is rich in agriculture and yet so poor in, and I'll let you guys fill in that blank. But for me, our babies that are now mandated to come to school are coming to school with diagnosis that they still can't figure out. All of a sudden, we have a high population of ADHD students. We have a high population of autism. Where it's coming from, I don't know. I'll let the experts figure it out for me while I'm in the weeds, trying to make sure that they're safe, secure, and peaceful in their public settings as they're mandated to go to these schools with diagnosis, perhaps from the water, perhaps from the air. All I know is that our children are being victimized as well. So when we make decisions, keep in mind that our innocent cannot come to these podiums, but we can. And I'm here to stand for our children that are being diagnosed with conditions that won't go away, that's going to last them the rest of their lives into their future from whatever they're breathing and whatever they're drinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members speaking on item 7.1? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board for comments, questions. Supervisor Chance, comment?
Yeah, just a comment, Mr. Chair. So approximately maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I went on a fact-finding mission over in Monterey County, and we went and toured the recycling center of a couple of our community members who are here today. I believe, if I remember correctly, Councilmember Chris Rickey joined us. I really did find that tour beneficial. I thought it was a great new perspective, maybe a model we can build on or emulate, moving forward. I would just maybe ask that maybe our staff, our executive staff, maybe we can have an official tour and also include some of our community members who are here today who are concerned. And I do think Monterey County was doing a lot of things right. I don't know how it translates here. But again, we can take what's good and take what's possible and try to make it happen. But I do believe we have to have a plan, a big picture plan. And I understand that we're addressing some of the immediate concerns, and that's fine. But again, we have to have a long-term plan and a strategic plan so that we can follow. And I look forward to those conversations. But again, just a consideration that maybe we could get out of Stanislaus County and go see what other counties are doing.
Any other members of the board comment? I'm just going to jump on what Chance says. I agree. We need to figure this out, and I think we're working hard to do that. I appreciate Rob and Will and Fidelis for your presentation, the update on all of this. We all are very concerned and working to solve this. There's no conspiracy here, not trying to hide anything from anybody. Never is. And we will figure this out. The one thing I always want to caution, I go back and I look at SB 1383, the 3 garbage can thing that we had to deal with here. And for years and years, I heard in my district, we need recycling, and they're right, we do need recycling. We'd love to be at zero waste, but it's a cost to the community to do these things, and we don't want to take food off of people's table so that they can have a certain garbage can, and that's what we ended up with this 1383. We ended up with individuals having to, their increase in cost. And so anyway, just careful what you wish for. There's a way to get there. We'll do it. We can't do it before it's too soon, before we don't have the technologies and everything that needs to make this happen. And we certainly can't do it on the backs of our disadvantaged communities, which is what ends up happening a lot of times when we wish for these things. So I know we'll figure this out, and thank you guys for working on this.
So I would echo your comments pretty much. I look at the difficulty with our partner agencies. We have 9 cities plus the county, and putting that agreement together originally when the waste stream was fully staying within Stanislaus County was a difficult task. You laid out kind of the things we did. There was a diversion credit. There was actually a reason for a lot of them to stay in for the 10% diversion credit, which has since been removed. We can't mandate the cities what they're going to do. Last time the refuse left our county for Forward landfill, I think it's still called Forward up in Stockton, which is the mountain up in Stockton. and down to Merced, as I had said. I completely agree, 1383 and the benefits of diverting always have a cost, much like when we go through this process, no matter how good we are, on January 1st, if this shuts down, on that day, that refuse is coming into our landfill, as far as I'm concerned, till the end of the agreement. And so to go from a waste stream that is probably 250,000 is going to our landfill, it was about half of it was diverting to forward, more or less. So we don't have the staff or the resources to just pick up double the garbage. And you can imagine having a business where you're out doing something, you're in Ammonhuller and you're doing 10 million pounds, and a day later you're doing 20 million pounds. It's just, it will put a strain on the system. So rates eventually will settle when we go through this. I'm sure that they will be going up. Think of electricity rates and PG&E, sewer rates with tertiary treatment requirement. We talk about water, the constituencies. I can go throughout any district, it's not just the west side, but the water quality issues, because they keep lowering the constituencies and adding some. TCP, I think, is what it is. Patterson we're trying to get water for a school from Patterson, and they're out of compliance currently, but a city's more likely to get into compliance than a community, a small community. They have the capacity. So you take that when you either get to surface water, like Turlock and Ceres just did, and Modesto has been doing, and Houston couldn't participate in that, or didn't feel they could participate because the cost was exorbitant, the rate structure for their folks, and they just had to go to tertiary treatment. And so you add those things together, garbage rates, water, sewer, and electricity, and it becomes overburdensome. So we typically weigh that in our conversations. I will let you know that we did cover a good portion of the landfill with solar. There is one of the largest solar projects out there. If you haven't been out there, it's pretty amazing. I went to the christening, for lack of a better word, of the solar project, and I forgot. Now I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I guess I'm going to leave it at that. So there are lots of things to be considered here, and I think it'll be a tough discussion in the future.
Don't leave the people out of it.
All right, any other questions, concerns? All right, then I'll entertain a possible motion.
I would just accept it, we'll accept the staff's update. I make a motion, we accept the staff's update.
Second that.
All right, motion to accept staff update by Supervisor Withrow, second by Supervisor Keza. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you so much for the presentation, I appreciate it. All right, next, item 7.2, approval to establish a farm worker advisory committee, and the presentation will be conducted by Tina Rocha from the Chief Executive's Office, and Linda Pinfold, our Agricultural Commissioner.
Hi, good morning. Should we wait for Supervisor Keza?
Probably should.
Okay, let's take a couple.
Están esperando a otro supervisor.
Okay, hello. Well, good morning. Tina Rocha, Assistant Executive Officer. With me today is Linda Penfold, the Agricultural Commissioner. We're here today in response to some interest from members of the Board of Supervisors concerning a Farm Worker Advisory Committee. So we are here today to present you with a general framework for the board to consider. So some key areas of consideration in developing this committee were to ensure that the farm workers are represented on the committee, allowing participation from community-based organizations, and then trying to find a way to accommodate the unique schedules of the farm workers when these meetings would be held. So some of the committee goals would be to enhance the understanding and visibility of issues facing the county's farm worker population. Those would include immigration, employment conditions, health, access to safety net services, and housing, to provide a forum for sharing of information and resources, and then an opportunity to gather some feedback on opportunities for improvement.
I'm going to go ahead and take the reins here if I can. So the vision or the proposal for the committee structure is a 9-person committee that would consist of one farm worker from each of the 5 districts, an agricultural industry representative, an agricultural advisory board member, a farm labor contractor, and a community-based organization representative dedicated to serving the county's farm worker populations. Applications for these, for committee members would be submitted to the clerk of the board, and members would be appointed based on the applications that are received by the board. Okay. Meeting logistics. So meetings are to be held quarterly, rotate locations among supervisory districts. The Ag Commissioner, my office, serves as a non-voting advisor, and the Agricultural Commissioner, our office, would be able to provide headsets for translation services. Before we continue on, I understand that there's some points that County Council Bose would like to share in regards to Brown Act.
Yeah, I see here on the slide that there's a recommendation that the locations rotate among the supervisory districts. Under the Brown Act, there's a general requirement that that standing committees and legislative bodies hold a regular meeting, and that regular meeting has a regular place and a regular time. There might be ways to kind of work through this, but I would advise that they have a regular meeting at one location to comply with the Brown Act. That's all I have to say.
Can they occasionally?
Yes.
Okay.
So we can, yeah, we'll
So-
find a centrally located spot that'll work.
Center.
And, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, with that, so the staff recommendations before you today are to consider establishing a Farm Worker Advisory Committee as a 1-year pilot program. If the board chooses to do that, then to direct the clerk of the board to post vacancies and accept applications for the Farm Worker Advisory Committee, and to appoint the Agricultural Commissioner or their designee to provide oversight and support to the Farm Worker Advisory Committee. And with that, staff is happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Members of the board, questions, comments?
I know we had, or at least I think I had the conversation before about adding for the farm workers some sort of honorarium or per diem for a meeting. I think it would be important because I'm not sure if we nominate a farm worker, if they're being paid from their employee. And I think, something, and again, this is just off the top of my head for the farm worker community only, that there's, maybe they get $50 a meeting, something like that.
Right? Any other comments, questions? All right, I'm going to take it out to the public. There is a written item on, written communication on item 7.2. And then I have a few public comment cards that I'm just going to call in no particular order, other than getting them in receipt. But I don't even know if that, because I accidentally dropped them and they got reshuffled, so. First one is Noe Poemo. Actually, that was the written communication as well, so I'm glad you can make it in person.
Good morning, Chairman Grewal, members of the Board of Supervisors, County Council, and staff. Thank you for the presentation for the Ag Commissioner and CEO's office on the Farm Worker Advisory Committee. As Chairman said, I have submitted my comments in writing, but I want to make it public so that it's recorded. And I'm just going to refer to those comments as I share my presentation here. So, Noe Paramo, I'm with California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation. I'm a longtime resident of Modesto and Stanislaus County. And Sierra Lea Foundation supports the principle of a Farm Worker Advisory Committee for Stanislaus County to identify and promote sound policies and programs. Stanislaus County's approximately 24,000 farm workers were at the forefront from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic as essential workers harvesting and processing food for California and Stanislaus County residents. Currently, the avian influenza or bird flu is a threat to the health and safety of farm workers working in the poultry and dairy industry in need of protections and resources up and down the San Joaquin Valley. Farm workers are suffering from impacts of climate change, which affects their health, working conditions, income, safety nets, and persistent economic challenges. Climate impacts on farm work are exposure to extreme heat, chronic drought, flooding from storms, wildfire smoke, more dangerous working conditions, increased health and stress risks. We heard about asthma as a respiratory condition, lost work, fewer jobs, time and travel for jobs, and job changes becoming more technical, as well as water access and water quality. Ongoing issues that are being exacerbated negatively by increasing costs and policy changes are housing and immigration. According to studies, most farm workers rent their housing, and issues with increasing rent and habitability are persistent challenges, such as heating and air conditioning. A majority of farm workers remain undocumented despite being residents for 10, 20, or more years, contributing by paying taxes and for mixed status families. All of these challenges require serious and dedicated support and resources for farm workers to ensure their families are part of a thriving Stanislaus County community. In order to strengthen and make the Farm Worker Advisory Committee meaningfully effective and to help plan for a more immediate, intermediate, and long-term viability, I skipped a sentence, for a more resilient and adaptive community to the challenges from climate change, we must ensure immediate, intermediate, and long-term viability of our communities are addressed. Of utmost importance is the issue of trust with government. In order to establish and ensure trust, it's very important to partner with community-based organizations as trusted messengers and the representative service providers in the composition of the Farm Worker Advisory Committee. County agencies are key providers of care that serve the farm worker community and should be considered in the composition of the Farm Worker Advisory Committee. To accomplish these purposes, we submit the following recommendations. A, that Stanislaus County shall fund $500,000 towards the development and implementation of the committee to address the needs of farm workers. The fund to be guided by the committee. The FACT may award and distribute grants based on recommendations that require urgency and rapid response to farm workers that arise from climate change impacts on their communities, considering the disadvantaged and unincorporated areas of the county. We saw the storms last 2 years ago, 2023, that impacted Merced County. Stanislaus County was not provided any assistance from the state. However, residents from Stanislaus County that traveled to work in San Joaquin and Stanislaus County did get assistance, but that left Stanislaus County out. So we need to have a safety net for emergency funds. The leadership of the board and the CEO shall convene the composition, and I put 12. It says 9, I put 12. 5 of the members, year-round or seasonal farm workers from each district. 1 member at large, year-round or seasonal. 3 members from community-based serving organizations. 1 member representing legal services organizations serving low-income farm workers. 2 members from the county agencies, whether it's CSA or HSA. It could be ad hoc, non-voting. But I think it's critical to build that relationship in as key service providers that receive the input from the committee so they can respond quickly. I also added 6 items that are in comment there in writing, as I heard my time is up. But one is that stakeholder process be facilitated and required by California's open meeting laws, that safeguards are put in place. Support through research, dialogue, outreach, and education. Research, identify, and develop a report that it's meaningful at the end of this pilot year. And that report address the immediate, intermediate, and long-term sustainability of the findings. That the meetings be regular and they're supported, and that they're provided with funding. So thank you for that mention about a per diem. I think it has to be provided prospectively so they're not out of pocket having to attend these meetings with these farm workers are. And as been mentioned before, that the interpretation and accessibility be provided for. I appreciate the opportunity to submit the comments. I appreciate your diligence and thoughtfulness in putting this together. It is very important given the time we're in Stanislaus County and the state, the region, and the nation. I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, next public comment card speaker I have is Maria Aravallo.
Good morning, members of the board, Chair Jody Hayes. As you know, over 2 years ago, Latino Giving Circle members of our circle approached the board asking for support for farm workers with ARPA funds. And since then, we've been discussing the formation of an advisory committee. So we're really happy to see that that's finally before the board. 40 years ago, I came to Stanislaus County as a lawyer, working with California Rural Legal Assistance, working for farm workers, and the conditions for farm workers back at that time were terrible. And since that time, they haven't improved very much, and in fact have gotten worse in many aspects because of climate change and because of some of the conditions that Noe talked about. So this committee is extremely important. But I do have some recommendations that are sort of in line with Noe's recommendations. I have worked with community resident-led committees for funding, and I understand that to have residents really participate meaningfully in these committees, they have to have trust, and there has to be a good working relationship with everybody on those committees. I don't think you're going to achieve that with 4 quarterly meetings. I don't think you're going to achieve that with 1 CBO representative of this committee. And I do think, again, with Supervisor Chase, we need that stipend for farm workers to really participate. So I would echo Noe's comments. We need to have at least 6 meetings, and I know Monterey County, I think, has them every year. They've had them now for over 6 years, their committee, but I would increase the meetings to more than 4 because you need to establish a working, trusting relationship with everybody in that committee, and you're not going to do that with 4 quarterly meetings. I would include at least 3 representatives from community-based organizations who already have trusted relationships with the farm worker community. And I would also think that the agricultural commissioner has to be the head of this committee in addition, or have 2 co-leaders of this committee, one to be a CBO and one to be the agricultural commissioner. I think that they have to both be in charge of this committee to have meaningful participation from farm workers. I also think that the transparency is really important, and so I'm really happy to see that this is going to be subject to the Brown Act. I think we had a very unfortunate experience with CVOC. It was very difficult to find out what they did with the ARPA money that was given to them. And if you ask questions from them, they attacked you. So I want to avoid that, and having this subject to the Brown Act would give us that avenue to make sure that this is a very transparent process. So again, I urge the board to establish this committee, but to adopt further criteria that would support effective participation from farm workers on the committee. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker card I have is for Vivian Lopez.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm Vivian Lopez, and thank you for the opportunity to provide some comments regarding the Farm Worker Advisory Committee. I'm a daughter of parents who were farm workers, and I understand that the county will be forming the committee to listen to farm workers, share information and resources, and get feedback from farm workers. I see the meeting times will be held in the evening or on the weekends. That sounds like a good plan. However, there are some big challenges, and one is trust. Would a farm worker representative feel confident to share problems being encountered in the fields and not be fearful of retaliation? Would they fear that they could lose their job? And once any problems are brought out to light, what actions will the committee decide to take? I fear that there will not be any follow-through to address these problems, and then the community will feel that they are not being listened to. I hope this effort will be taken seriously and we will see positive change. I know that applications will soon be provided or sent out. And in regards to a representative from a community-based organization, I would like to say that even though CVOC, Farm Worker Resource Center, provides job training for farm workers, I don't feel that it can truly represent farm workers. I attended an in-person Farm Worker Roundtable meeting on November 15th, 2023, to review the job training progress. The meeting was not well organized, and it had to be stopped. There were very few farm workers in attendance. It was poorly planned, and no outreach to farm workers was done. There was a concern with inadequate Spanish interpretation setup. The quarterly report did not get presented. On March 27th, 2024, a Zoom meeting was held to review the Farm Worker Resource Center's quarterly report. I questioned the use of Zoom because I don't feel that this is the best way to interact with farm workers. Questions that I asked had to be submitted on chat. You can understand how frustrating it is not to have face-to-face meetings. Yes, it is important to hear our farm workers' voices. It needs to be in person, well-announced meeting dates, and in a safe and welcoming space. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker I have is Dr. Anna Andrade.
I'm a little stiff from sitting so long. Good afternoon, Chairman and Board of Directors. So here again with you. We brought this issue forward about 2 years ago, and I'm pleased to see that it's now finally being placed on the discussion item. Again, 2 years ago, we approached the board with great care and appreciation and presented to you all concrete data demonstrating the need for an investment, a strong investment to this talent base, okay? We said allocate ARPA funding to the sector, okay? We were told that the county doesn't give handouts. Okay, at the time, that's what I heard. Well, my question today is, how many handouts have you all approved, okay, to the so-called emerging sector, to one organization that has yet to produce earnings? Okay, pouring millions of dollars, okay, to an organization that has only been in existence for a couple of years. I think it's fiscally irresponsible to invest resources, again, to this so-called promising and engaging sector without fully securing your base. You know, everybody said it today, we're farmland, we're, you know, agriculture, and yes, I understand the importance of diversifying our portfolios, right? Diversifying our economics, but we need to be focusing on the base, and the base is the farm workers. Again, I highlight that, and I want to be clear, I'm not opposed to developing a high-performing economy. I think that was, that stood out to me as I read your proposal. I think that's critical to do that. It's just we need to be very intentional and very careful on how we go about doing it, because otherwise, you know, all of us are part of that ecosystem. The farm workers, all of us, right? We focus on one sector, right? We're like investors. You're all stewards of our money, right? Invest wisely and not just on a trendy, you know, it's like NVIDIA, right? Trending stock. And that's what I see a lot of this new thing that we're hoping to maximize on. We need to focus on our base. And as far as, you know, the framework that was presented by, you know, the CEO's office and the Ag Commissioner, I don't think it was well thought out. My apologies. It wasn't well thought out because you didn't consider many points, and now I had to miss work to be able to be here and to be able to share with you all, you know, and my peers here, you know, what you all need to be part of that, right? Safeguarding these people. You know, they're not going to come here and talk about, you know, el patron, the boss, and how they're being mistreated. Safeguarding, I'm so happy that Supervisor Cheza mentioned, you know, per diem, you know, honorarium for our farm workers. That needs to be part of it. Other things need to be part of it, and I think that's my discontent, that we do things without considering and bringing people to the table. And no fault to your own, right? You're a white woman, you know, taking this opportunity, and I get it, but bring along those other people, bring along the multiplicity of perspectives, right? You didn't know about that safeguarding. They're not going to talk. They're not going to share. And if we do have this committee, my thinking is, okay, is it just another check the box? You know, is it a check the box, or are we actually going to take action, right? Said feedback. Feedback doesn't mean anything. Like, I think my comments today are not going to mean anything. I think we need solid recommendations, right? Our base needs to be heard. Our folks, so again, my biggest thing today is focus on your base, right? Many of you are, you know, who you are. Focus on that base and help them. And I know there's many ways to get them these jobs, but at the end of the day, if we're not focusing on our base, on our, you know, we're the #1 agriculture of the world, you know, helping people is big. So anyways, that's it. I think I'm ranting now, and I'm going to go ahead and say thank you all. Please consider the recommendations, and please be more inclusive as you are creating these frameworks. Let's be inclusive and not create mediocre frameworks. Thank you.
All right, next speaker I have is Miguel Donoso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Voy a hablar en español porque voy a traer mi intérprete para sentirme mejor porque me atoro a veces.
He decided to do it in Spanish instead of English.
Yo creo que uno de los problemas de los farm workers es el dairy, el de los que cuidan a las vacas.
I think one of the problems of the farm workers is the dairies.
Que tiene muy pobre salud.
They have, in the dairies, they have poor health.
Poca environmental, muy poco environmental, pobre.
Very little environmental.
Yeah.
Environment.
Yeah. Las casas, muy pobre casas.
Housing conditions are poor.
Y el pago.
And the pay.
Muy pobre.
Is very poor.
Especialmente no pagan por el overtime.
Especially they don't pay for overtime.
Y los documentos que sean en el reporte van a decir que traduzcan toda la información.
In the documents that they will say translate all the documentation.
Y la última parte yo creo que es ¿qué va a pasar el condado, qué va a hacer para proteger a los farm workers con el plan del señor Trump de deportación?
What is the Board of Supervisors going to do to protect the farm workers with the plan of President-elect Trump on deportation?
Porque si van a deportar a la gente que está trabajando,
Because if they're deporting those who are working,
¿cómo el Board de Supervisores va a proteger especialmente
how will you be protecting,
a los que están trabajando en el campo, que no tienen documentos?
especially those that are undocumented working in the fields?
Que sabemos que casi 60% no tienen documentos.
That we know almost 60% don't have documentation.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment card I have is Bianca Lopez.
Thank you. Good morning, I think. I just have a couple of questions. I know this is a discussion item. I'm hoping to get some answers or clarification. I'm going to just go through my list as I listen to the short presentation. I'm wondering who will be the ones selecting the actual members that apply to be part of this advisory committee? Should I ask my questions and then maybe somebody can answer, or? Okay. And then what other criteria are you requesting or requiring of the organizations besides the fact that they serve farm workers, if any, or if that's all you have to do? I'm hoping that once the members are selected, that you first select the members and then decide how often or where you're going to meet and at what time to make sure that that time is actually adequate for those who are going to be part of the advisory committee, not set in time and then expect them to be there. I am concerned about some of the other makeups of the committee. As some folks already expressed, fear of retaliation. Farm workers aren't going to come to share their experiences without fear of retaliation. And so I'm not sure what kind of feedback you're looking for. I still don't quite understand the purpose of this committee. We met with some farm workers this weekend, and it was their recommendation that maybe a family member represent them instead, because they do fear retaliation. I'm concerned about the contractors being part of this committee. Most of the concerns and complaints that we get from, as I shared with you, Commissioner, they are about the contractors. It is the contractors who we get stories about who are violating these people's rights. So I'm not sure that we need a contractor there or what the purpose is of some of the people sitting at this table. The Ag Advisory member, what role should they have? Why are they at this table? I don't understand that, if that can be clarified. What power or assurances do the members or participants or the community have about actual changes? The language is weak. Feedback. And then what? Are you ready to address climate change? Are you all ready to fix the housing issue? Are you ready to give people adequate water? Bathroom breaks? Will OSHA, Cal OSHA or the Labor Commissioner also be part of this committee? Shouldn't they be? I mean, I still don't understand the purpose. So, I mean, those are my questions. I have more, so if I could reserve my time so that I can get some answers to my questions and then maybe give some more input, I would appreciate that.
I think it's better just, you have still time left.
No. That, I want to save my time because I want answers to my questions so that I know what else to say. So please stop my time.
So maybe we can.
This is a discussion item, no? I mean, like public comment, and then you say it, and you get,
Yeah.
That's not a discussion.
Yeah, it's not interaction back and forth between us, but we will discuss probably all these points as it comes back to the board. We'll address your concerns.
Okay, then let me continue. It really is, I do appreciate that the Commissioner, Linda, is going to be leading this advisory group. I believe she's a great listener. As we've hosted monthly meetings with the commissioner to share concerns about pesticide use, not just for farm workers, but people who live surrounded by agricultural lands where high pesticides are used. But I think, I'm not sure that it's well thought out, as Ana Andrade said, right? Like, this can't be a checkbox, and I don't think, Commissioner, I think you stepped up for this. This was an idea that was proposed by a few folks, and this was not the intent. But it's been shifted to something different, which is fine. We just want to make sure that this advisory committee has an objective. 1 year to build trust isn't enough, so a 1-year pilot program, I'm recommending that it be extended to beyond a 1 year. I do appreciate Noé Paramo's perspectives and recommendations. The CRLA Foundation would be a great person or entity, an organization at this advisory committee. I agree with the other committee members' concern. I do not think that CVOC should be allowed to be part of this committee. If they apply, who knows? I don't think they have the capacity, even though you gave them millions of dollars. I'm really concerned. I really do want to feel like this is going to be a good thing, but the language is weak. We can't just get feedback. Okay, that's extractive relationship. What are you going to give back?
Great, thank you. And next speaker card I have is for John X. Mataka.
John X. Mataka, Grayson Neighborhood Council. Well, I'm gonna be very long. I agree with most of what's been said here. I do agree with that quarterly is not enough. I think at least every other month, at least 6 meetings at the minimum would be good. This whole issue kind of confuses me with the Brown Act. I'm not a scholar of the Brown Act, but it seems to me that, in my position on the local task force, there didn't seem to be an issue with the Brown Act when they excluded me, so I don't know why all of a sudden we got one with farm workers. And I guess one way you could remedy it is if each supervisor had a farm worker committee in their own district, and they co-facilitated that with the ag commissioner, and then you wouldn't need it wouldn't be an issue, as far as I know, with the Brown Act, because it'd be in each of their own communities. That's one issue. The other issue is that trust is such an issue, and the issue with it being at one place only is that farm workers don't like coming to meetings like this or anything that has to do with government, because there's fear because of their immigration status for a fair amount of people. And so they feel real comfortable coming to something in their community, a community-based organization, for example, maybe even the church, someplace that they're comfortable with, where they don't feel intimidated, for lack of a better way of saying it. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And I'll say this, because pretty much everything's been said, but my experience has been that you allocate money, good old money. You allocate money to things that, if you want them to happen, you guys allocate money all the time to different projects because you're very on board with them. You want to make sure that they're successful, and you realize as Board of Supervisors that you need money to make things happen. It's good to talk about, like people have said, it's good to talk about this and that, but there needs to be some kind of a budget. And I know times are hard, but there could be some kind of a budget for this committee or what have you, to whereas, I'll just give you an example. Let's say that a farm worker comes to one of the committees and there's an issue, and, he needs, or they need, not a large thing, but maybe a PG&E bill paid or something. And if you can't hook them up with the proper service to get that done, well, if you had a small, amount of capital available to the committee for emergency situations. I'm talking outside the per diem. But, you know, we allocate money to things that we really want to see happen. So I think you need to allocate some form of money to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the public comment cards I have, but is there any member of the public wanting to speak that didn't turn in a public comment card? Maggie?
Good morning, Board of Supervisors and staff. My name is Maggie Mejia, and I'm here to applaud you for what you're doing. There's just a few recommendations that I would make. One thing with all farm workers that they all have in common is that they all believe in the education of their children, and they all have a deep religious faith. I would like to see at this table someone from education and someone from the religious faith in order to gain their trust. Another thing that you do here every time you have your meetings is that you always have someone in prayer. In order to continue to gain their trust at these meetings, you should have someone begin in prayer. This is very important because they believe in the education and the faith in their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Any other members of the public wanting to comment on this item before we bring it back to the board for further discussion? Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I don't have any connection with farm workers, but there's kind of a parallel situation that I was concerned with my involvement with the transit agency, and I see it kind of things converging in this case. And so the problem is retaliation. I had a similar concern with the transit agency about drivers, if certain drivers complain too much about their work circumstances, and so they just quit. And so there was too much turnover, and it feels like this could be a problem here. You know, consistency, having people who trust each other, coming to meetings and coming to multiple meetings. And so one of the things I want to suggest is that there is, the thing that just popped into my head today is maybe one of the members, or maybe not even a voting member, but a grievance officer. So any of the other members that wanted to submit grievances anonymously, and then that person would, of course, have to be a person who speaks fluent Spanish and English, but also could not be retaliated against. They would not be a fellow farm worker. But so we have to, this is tricky, finding someone that the farm workers would trust, but also can follow through and cannot be retaliated against. So that's an idea I had. Thank you.
All right. Any other public members wanting to speak in public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board for further discussion, comments, questions, and first I have Supervisor Chanscon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I really appreciate the community's recommendations as well as some of the recommendations were made by the board members. But again, thank you so much for coming here today and helping us craft this policy that hopefully will be beneficial to some of our most vulnerable residents. I do think Noe had a great kind of platform. Unfortunately, I did not get your public comment, but just going back on what you had said, maybe we do establish a 13-member commission. We have one at-large member, one legal service representative, and then add in addition to community-based organizations. I think that would be great. And then so we go from 9 to 13. I do just have a question for Mr. Bose. So what would the requirements from the Brown Act be? What is it, a majority of meetings, or I guess what would supplement that so that we can try to alternate to a more rural setting to appease the needs of the farm workers?
So I'm understanding your question to be what is the requirements around a meeting location?
What is the minimum?
That's hard to say because the Brown Act is very gray. It should have been called the Gray Act. But in Government Code Section 54954, it suggests that the board, that the legislative entity and standing committees need to have a standing or a regular meeting with a regular time and a regular location. I think that there are many ways to possibly get around that. One of the ways that might, and I would need to research this, is to establish that there will be 4 regular meetings at 4 regular locations, or
Okay.
5, I'm sorry, 5. That might be one way to meet that requirement. This is my first time
course.
seeing this piece. So I'd have to look at it a little bit more, but there may be ways to get there.
Totally understand. I do think Bianca made a great point, is let's kind of wait to set where that meeting is until we see who the applicants are. I do think this is only going to be successful as it is accessible. So we have to try to get in the Grayson, we have to try to get in Empire, we have to try to make it as close in proximity to those constituents as possible. And I do think the more rural, the better. You know, and I love Supervisor Chiesa's recommendation of doing a stipend. I mean, so if we're going to a 13-member committee, 6 of which will be farm workers, 5 appointed by us, and then 1 at-large individual, I think we do a $100 stipend. And will that stipend be for each meeting? I believe it should be. So that's $600 for, you know, each individual who attends that meeting. So I think we should set aside for that type of funding. I think it incentivizes them. It also shows them that we appreciate their service and helping guide our policy and as a, you know, recommendation body. I do agree with Mr. Mataka that, you know, 6 meetings would be great. I think Noe also mentioned that as well, is if we can get this into a 6-meeting in person with translation services, and again, in as close proximity to the community as possible. I think that's a great recommendation. And, you know, the feedback comment that Bianca made, I do think it could be stronger. That way, maybe we could strike feedback and maybe add recommendations. Because again, I think this is a recommendation body, similar to other advisory committees. I know Mrs. Mejia served on our aging commission for quite some time. They make recommendations as a collective body to the board, and then we try to implement policy. That's kind of how I see this commission going, is they're collectively, through those 6 meetings a year, going to be coming up with possible policy recommendations for the board to implement. And so that's why I do think that verbiage could be stronger, striking feedback, replacing it with recommendations, because again, they're a recommending body. So I think this is great. I do think it's historic. I don't believe that this is just, you know, a good gesture. I do believe that this could be a driving force to help educate us as elected officials, as policymakers, so that we can improve the quality of life for our farm workers in the long term. The only way we're going to do that is by hearing directly from the source themselves. And again, that's why this commission is so valuable. I do hopefully we'll be able to attend those 6 meetings in the coming year and try to be there as often as possible, but also it will be open to other members of the public, since it is an open forum, it is an open public meeting. But those would just be some of my recommendations, and hopefully, you know, we can implement that into the policy change, and hopefully this commission will be a success.
So, I'll go. Okay. Supervisor Withrow. So, Tina, Linda, thank you guys for putting this together and all your work on this to get this going. And thank everybody for their comments. So I think I'm good with it, you know, with most of the recommendations here. I mean, for the most part, we want to make this thing work, and that's fine. I'm fine with it. The number of members, I know we had initially circulated this and came up with this, but if it requires more members, I don't have a problem with that. The per diem thing is great. That sounds good. Get people to come to the meetings. A lot of this, we're going to feel this out as these meetings start to happen. Who's showing up, who's not showing up. So that'll be something that I think a lot of that the committee will have to make decisions and decide how they want to see things go as they start to have meetings. You'll see, as we all know, you know, we call a lot of meetings, we go to a lot of meetings, and we can't get anybody to show up. And so this will be stuff that the committee itself will have to deal with as far as the participants. Beyond 1 year, you know, we do this a ton. We set up these pilots, and then they move forward from there. So let's just see how the meetings are going. Let's see who's showing up and what kind of stuff is happening there, and it's how the committee feels about that at that point, rather than us just. But let's start. I'm fine with it. Pilot start for a year, and let's see what happens. Maggie's suggestions, I'm always in for the prayers, Maggie. And if we could get, I'm just thinking, it starts to get dicey when you're talking about, you want to have a religious person there. From what religion? From what, for me, I'd just get a deacon from the Catholic Church to show up. It's fine to be a part of it, but, again, I think these are things that the committee can kind of work through if they want that, once this kind of gets up and running. Location, again, whatever Tom thinks how it's supposed to work, and whatever the committee can, again, gets a feel for how this is going. Is it affecting attendance of locations or not? Again, the committee can kind of weigh in on that and decide what they think. And then I'm fine with, recommendations. If you want to change the wording to recommendations, that's fine. Just things that will still come back to the board for the board's ultimate decision, like everything that happens in the county comes from the elected officials that you guys put in these positions to make those things. So, but the recommendations wording is fine. I'm just trying to see if I said anything else here of the comments that were made. Labor contractors, I think it's good to have labor contractors here. I think it's good to have everybody at the table, and it's good for everybody to have the conversations. And if you're uncomfortable with things, then you should have them there, and you should discuss those things with the labor contractors. If you have a problem with a labor contractor, then I'm always a fan of having that individual there and have that discussion. The back and forth, I think, is always good. I think that's a good. It's good to have somebody there. I hate to have somebody not there because you're afraid there's going to be bad consequences. Well, that doesn't solve the problem at all. They need to be there, and you need to have those discussions, in front of God and everybody, and figure out if there's a problem there. So I think labor contractors are good. And the ag advisor member, I think that's a farmer. I think somebody, to have a farmer there. That's how I interpreted the ag advisory person, is maybe somebody's on that ag advisory commission that's a farmer. So I don't have a problem with that. So, okay, there's a lot of stuff there.
Supervisor Buckhandel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I like the way the committee, the structure is set up right now, or the structure of the committee. A lot of the recommendations I agree with, the stipend or reimbursement. The meeting schedule, I think that comes down to the committee if they need to meet more to get their objectives done. I think that comes down to the committee itself. It being a pilot program at the end, or a pilot committee at the end of this term, then have recommendations come back from that committee about how they feel it needs to change, how many more times they need to meet or not meet, who they think might need to be on the committee to have more representation. I think those are recommendations that need to come from the committee. But the way the committee structure is set up now, I'm in agreement with, and I'll be supporting.
Thank you very much, and thank you to staff. I know you've had interactions with all the board members, and you've alleviated some concerns. My concern early on, and my conversations with Tina, is that I don't want this to be hijacked. I want this to be a farm worker committee, and I'd put 15 farm workers on there because that's who I want to hear from. I have lots of interactions with folks, but I would agree that sometimes they're probably afraid to come to me and say, hey, you made me do something. And so being independent would be really important, and not someone else telling them what they need to be. Again, I'm okay because it ended up the way the committee ended up, but I would have concerns if we expanded it too far. I agree with Maggie's, Maggie, we've never had a second generation ever work for us, and because they always send their kids to school, they believe in the education system. And I can think of lots of people who could add value to it, but pretty soon it becomes unwieldy, and this is set up for farm workers. And I don't have any problem expanding it for farm workers. I think we're gonna have a difficult time just by the nature of people, the way they are, the farm workers, they keep to themselves. They don't want to upset a boss or anything else, especially if they are undocumented. And we need to give them every protection we can in the situation. I did hit up Supervisor Alejo and Monterey County because they're starting theirs back up, their worker advisory. And they have industry along with the farm workers. And that's something, that when I looked at Monterey counties, I would prefer to have fewer industry members. I think we have a pretty good balance because there's only a few folks. And quite frankly, I don't know who's best. I hear I hear different things about who's best to lead this. I'm going to leave it with our ag commissioner at this point. I think that's the right person, and we'll see how this develops. And hopefully they come out with recommendations. I really want to report out. I don't care if they want to meet every 2 months. I'm okay with that too. But I want to hear a report out of what are the things they're looking for. From that they might not be getting. Some of them might be monetary, some of them might be working conditions and other things. But I want to hear that we tend, and Terry, you had brought up the farm worker contractor. And I found, I can't remember who brought up the farm worker, Bianca, I think it was you. I hear complaints, we very rarely use contractors, but generally my workaround is that I go out to the field with the 2 or 3 times we might utilize them, and I tell them exactly what I'm paying them. I tell them hourly or what's going on, and if there's anything that's different from that situation, they need to report to me, the owner, and I'll take care of it. Because again, when I hear complaints, I don't know, but it's something that I feel strongly about. People earn their pay, they earn their overtime, and I'm struggling just as much to stay in business, but they're struggling to pay their bills also. So I catch both sides. That's why I want to hear the recommendations coming out of this committee. And so I'll support this as it stands right now. I prefer to support it as it stands. And if we add, I want to add farm workers.
All right. Well, everybody's given input. One of the benefits of being chair is you get to hear all the input, and one of the, I guess, detriments is everything good that's needed to be said has already been said. But I do want to reemphasize on these issues. The 6 meetings, I think that's a good number to start with. I think building trust and building that camaraderie amongst this committee is going to require more interaction. So with our first pilot, I think that is a amount of meetings, and I know that's extra time for staff, but I think that's time well spent to really earn the trust of this committee members. And to some points that the speakers have brought up, you really want to make sure that they feel that this committee is, although it's an advisory committee, but still the recommendations they make are being taken seriously, and this committee is given that credibility during the entire process for the 1 year. I think a lot of this is going to come after the 1 year of meetings, where we're going to see it's going to evolve into what it should evolve into, where everybody has that trust. It's a safe, inviting space. When they show up for those meetings, they feel that they can be very open and honest with their communication. The 3 community-based organizations, I don't want that to be an impediment. I hope we can get 3 community-based organizations, but if we can't, whatever we can get, and we might get more, again, that's just going to be a part of the process that plays out, but I want to make sure that that's not an impediment to get this committee going, because I think we really have a step in the right direction. A stipend, I think it can't be a financial hindrance on the members. You don't want people not to apply because they're losing work, and it has to be an amount that people are willing to give up. And I know that $100 has been mentioned. And is that the amount that gets somebody to move? As my parents, I remember working at Foster Farms, for them, it was the paycheck. And so we have to see that, does that suffice? What amount suffices for somebody to say, okay, I'm not going to go into work today, I'm going to go into this community meeting, or take the time off to go into this community meeting. Whether, even though it's in the evening, they might have to take the day off prior to get all their information, or this meeting might go late and they might have to take the next day off. So I think that needs to be set. Again, I think the structure is right. I think this is something that's very encouraging, but we also want to make sure what the intention of this committee comes to fruition. And the intention is to really hear from the farm workers, or hear from all the other people at the table, and to get that out of them, I think they need to feel comfortable, compensated, and trusted. So I'm going to be supporting this as well. And
I'll be making a motion just for the, I guess, my recommendations, which would be a one-year pilot program commission. It would be made up of 13 individuals in addition to 1 at-large member, 2 community-based organizations, 1 legal service representative. The stipend for each of the farm workers, which again, that would make it 6, would be $100 per meeting. So we would be allocating $3,600. They can make up to $600 in that year. And this would be a 6 meeting a year in person with translation services. So that would be my motion.
prior to moving on that motion, I know CEO Hayes has something that, his input as well.
Thank you very much, and my comments are not intended to in any way flavor that motion. I just want to make sure there's one component of it that I bring to your attention, and that motion would actually do what I was going to ask, which was if there are any changes from the framework of this committee that is identified in the agenda item that need to be changed, just please put them in a motion, so we have at least one motion that's done that so far. I would suggest that when it comes to stipends, that you allow staff to bring that matter back to the board for an additional item. There are some budget implications that come along with that, and we want to make sure that we also know exactly how that's going to work. Like, are we, what is the financial relationship with those individuals? Are we going to have to give them 1099 forms? I want to have the opportunity to talk that through with the Auditor Controller's Office, just so that everybody's clear and there's transparency about that, but we can absolutely bring back whatever you would like us to bring back related to stipends. I just think there should be a little more technical work on that, but again, if it's part of a motion today, we'll just bring that information back later as well, to the degree that it's necessary. And lastly, I want to make sure, because I don't think I caught that there were a couple of questions from the community that I don't think we answered during the staff presentation. So I think during public comment, we had a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And Tina and Linda, I don't think we circled back on those questions yet. Is that correct?
It was how they're going to be appointed.
Yeah, who selects?
Yeah, so there were a couple of questions. I just want to give them an opportunity. I don't want to close the public process or this process until we have an opportunity to answer those questions.
All right, I'll take a crack at a few of them, or a couple of them. So on the selection process, it would be the board that would be making the final selection for those individuals. The other criteria for the members, I think that was related to the CBO, is that correct? And so what we would put in there is they would, give a description of their organization, and one of the things we would recommend is have them put their mission statement down, which would, give some clarity around the purpose of what their organization is. We were going to have our recommendation or intention was that the committee members, once selected, would be able to determine the date and times that would work best for the committee makeup. And I think it's already maybe been talked a little bit about, but the committee, we did want to have that broader perspective on there, having the labor contractor and an ag advisory member. Linda can speak a little bit more to that on how we developed that committee makeup.
I'd like to throw some comments here. So I've heard Monterey. So one of the wonderful things about my position is I have a lot of colleagues in every single county. They're ag commissioners, and I've talked to my colleagues quite in depth about what they've been doing. And I know Monterey's been brought forward, but frankly, one of the main counties that that they developed a farm worker committee advisory board for the Board of Supervisors is Marin County. Sorry, not Marin, San Mateo. And that the idea is here again, as Supervisor Withrow had mentioned, it's a place that is driven by the farm workers, so farm workers can be able to share their needs, their concerns. It's a great resource as well to help the county be able to identify where they can be able to help connect better resources to serve the farm workers. But also it's a place where you have people a minority, but yes, there are members of industry there, so that way as well, everybody can be at the table to sit and discuss the needs, the concerns, and be able to come up with recommendations for the board. And so that's why, instead of something that is just purely farm workers, the recommendation is to as well have somebody from the Agricultural Advisory Board who's also, so we have the Agricultural Advisory Board to have a member who is also a farmer, and as well a member who is a farm labor contractor, because that way everybody can hear the concerns, everybody can be able to provide some perspective, and hopefully come up with some good recommendations and solutions for the board to be able to hear and to be able to respond.
Okay. Okay. I think, the chair, I think that we're back up here. Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to stay back up here, guys. And so I just want to see how we can get, I'm just kind of going through what the staff recommendations are as far as the committee structure versus what changes we're looking at that are different here, and just see if we can agree where we're at. I think as far as the meetings, I think everybody agrees on that, 6 meetings. I think that's good. As far as the farm workers, it sounds like there's a motion, chance is taken to move it up by 4 more, but I want to make sure that, but I know Vito was thinking if there's going to be 4 more, they need to be farm workers. So I think we need to work that one out. So that's one we need to work out. I think everybody's okay with the per diem thing. I think we're okay with, but we need to have that brought back to us. Everybody's okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at everybody here, trying to get us to a motion that everybody's in agreement here. And Chance, I'm looking at you too to make sure I'm not missing something. Pilot 1 year, everybody's good with that, and let's give it after a year, let the committee talk about how they think it's going and come back to us with recommendations. Location, same thing. Committee's going to work on that and figure out what's good. So I think we're really down to, if we're going to add four, I think we agree on all the staff recommendations. If we're going to add 4 more members to it, those 4 more members, are they farm workers?
One would be, so the one addition, farm worker, and that's how we get to the allocation of 3,600, 600 if they attend all 6 meetings that year, would be the at-large representative, and then we would add 2 CBOs, and then 1 legal service representative. And I think Noe made a great point that it's imperative we have legal services at the table. And again, I see the CBOs, the community-based organizations, as more of an advocacy arm for farm workers. But we would be adding 1 slot for primarily a farm worker, and that would be an at-large seat.
I would be okay with adding more farm workers. However, I still have the stance that I think we need to see with the pilot committee, have them come back and make the recommendations if they feel like there's more representation needed in certain areas. I mean, obviously, they're just starting off. They're going to be working with a lot of stuff, and at the end of that pilot term, have them come back and say, it would probably work better if we had representation more in this area or this area. But I would be open to more farm workers.
We have a motion. I know Maggie
We have a motion.
I'm just,
Yeah, there's a motion.
There's a motion.
so the motion again was for the 4 additional, of which 1 is a farm worker, and
1 at-large, 2
Yeah.
community-based organizations, and 1 legal service representative.
what about the thought, if we added the 1 farm worker, and then we let the committee come back if they thought that they needed these additional?
Got to add 2.
Yeah, but you will only be
Okay,
at 10.
yeah, no, you have to be an odd
So-
number.
And that's why, just to get to 13, I think we do 2 community-based organizations and 1 legal service representative.
I just think it'd be great if we let the committee kind of figure if they needed more people than us kind of dictating.
Can we go on this motion? I know you're trying to.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying
No,
to.
I know, I get it, but if we can go on this motion and then that puts this one, whether it passes or not, then we can come up with another motion with some of the indications that. I'll give it a try and give second to the motion that Supervisor Condit's brought on the floor.
So say the motion again, sorry.
So the motion would take the current setting to 13. We would have 1 at-large farm worker representative and we would add 2 community-based organizations and 1 legal service member. Again, this would be a 1-year pilot program. We would have a stipend of $100 for each farm worker, which is a total of 6, and as long as they attend the 6 meetings that year, we would need to allocate $3,600, and essentially they would get paid a maximum individually $600 for attending those meetings. And then we would strike the word feedback and replace it with recommendations.
So my only concern, I'm just going to say again, is that, I mean, this is a farm worker advisory committee, and we'd only have 6 if we're going to jump it up to 13, we're only going to have 6.
Well, we could strike the farm contractor and we could replace it with a community-based organization or legal, I mean, you could strike other positions. I mean, we could strike the farm advisory committee member, replace it with a community-based organization, strike the farm contractor, replace it with the legal service member. I just think 13 is a good number. You know, that's my motion, so we do have a second. I think we vote on it.
I apologize, Maggie, I know you got your hand up, but we just, we're going to go with this motion, and then let's proceed with that one. Yeah, I don't know how to address the question right now. It'd be tough to bring it back, yeah.
You're here at the board.
Yeah, we're already back here, but I apologize.
I just want more discussion. I'm going to look at Vito. What do you think of?
Let's just take the motion, and then if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, we'll move on to the next one.
All right, I got a motion by Supervisor Chancecott, a second by myself, and then do we do a roll call vote? Oh, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, nay?
Nay.
All right, motion goes down 3-2. Let's have a conversation on any changes that make for a possible second motion.
So it seems like we're just down to the number on the committee and who those people are. I think we've agreed on everything except for that. So how do we get to a spot where I know Chance is still, I'm just trying to find this happy medium here.
Well, are you saying you want to keep it at 9? That's what you want to keep it at?
I guess I would like it to be more farm workers, I guess.
Well, let's add 4 farm workers then. If you guys are okay with that, I'm okay with that. And then we would just have to increase, obviously, our allocation. Because again, each individual will be making $600 approximately.
Well, but then right now, it's 1 at large, 5 per supervisory district. How would we add the other 4? I guess that's what we'd have to.
Well, I guess you could do 2 per district. I mean.
No, scratch the at large.
Scratch that large, and then you have 2 farm workers per district.
Beauty. Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'll second that.
Yeah, and then I'm just thinking, will there be legal counsel at this? We're talking about legal, will we have, it's a Brown Act meeting, will there be legal counsel there?
If you tell him to be there, he's going to be there.
Yeah. So maybe we can do it that way.
All right, is that a motion?
Yes, I'm fine with extending it to 2 farm workers per district. And again, we will have to obviously do the allocation separately, and then each individual would make $100 per meeting that they attend.
Okay, and then I have a second as well, so I have a motion by Supervisor Condit, Supervisor Chance-Condit, second by Supervisor Chiesa. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, and then we'll be bringing back the per diem discussion in a future meeting. All right, thank you. And correspondence, please acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Board of Supervisors reports.
I do have a report, just briefly. I know it was mentioned about the water situation out there in Wesley. Last Thursday, on November 7th, I actually met with Patterson Unified School District Superintendent, Dr. Reyes Gana, and through my contacts and just reaching out, we met with a company from Scottsdale, Arizona. They're called Source Hydro Panels, and essentially they're like solar panels, and they hook them up to either the home residence or the school, which we're looking at both, and they collect water evaporation in the air, and they store X number of gallons per each solar panel. the great thing about this is they're actually doing this in Vacaville, this company, and they've been able to cover the cost through grants. Now, obviously, if there's a cost associated, there could be a potential partnership or pathway between an MOU between the school district and the county, but we want to see what their grant writers, because they do have their own employees who are grant writers, are able to cover as far as that cost goes. But we had a very productive meeting regarding the contamination of water out there in Wesley. I do plan on meeting with Jim Cruz with the Stanislaus County Housing Authority as well about this, and maybe we could work out an agreement where we could get those hydro panels hooked up to those homes out there in Wesley, as well as hooked up to the school, so that we can collect the water that's in the air, recycle it, and the great thing is it has an infiltration system already on that panel, so it's essentially treating that water, making it drinkable, and I'm very excited about it, and hopefully we can find a remedy, a short-term remedy at least on that water issue.
All right, any other members?
Very good. I will be attending the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. We have our board retreat. It is in Visalia this week, and then next week we're at CSAC's annual meeting. I'm not sure exactly who's going, but I know I'll be there, and for the annual meeting.
All right, any other board members? All right, well, thank you so much, and next is COA's Legislative Fiscal and Management Report.
We'll be real quick. First, just a note of thanks and gratitude for our election staff for all of their work. Please go to standvote.com for results as they're updated. And want to also note that we did read, like everyone else, that the governor has called a special session of the legislature. This is usually a down period time for the legislative session, but there is going to be a special session, so we'll let you know if anything comes of that has implications for Stanislaus County. Thank you.
All right, well, with that, I'd adjourn and ask council to report for closed session items.
Yes, we have several items on the closed session agenda. The first item, the one regarding existing litigation, we're going to cancel that one. The second item, conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subdivision D2 or D3. We have one matter to discuss there. The third item, conference with the sheriff, threat to public services pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, subdivision A. The board will confer with the sheriff regarding response times for the emergency dispatch agency and other matters posing a threat to the central public services and the public's right of access to public services or facilities. With that, appropriate for public comment.
Any public comment? All right, thank you for everybody that stuck around for the meeting. Appreciate you being here, appreciate the comments, and have a great rest of the day. Deputy Middleton, thank you so much for watching over us. We appreciate you, and have a good rest of the day.